Okay. I'm so sorry for the delay. My apologies. Um, I basically saw. Um, I chose the wrong one. I started on the wrong broadcast, so that's totally my fault. My apologies. Peace, everyone. As well as like it's kind of empty in here. It's usually people are usually piling in by now. But give thanks after Naya for sending a smoke signal, little fire starter. And Abba Herut should be joining us shortly. I think I'm still getting smoke signals. Okay, I'm hearing that there's an echo. Um,
Okay. A
Peace,
little bit
Abba
of
Herut.
technical difficulty. We were just talking
Yeah,
about
that's
we
it.
were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah, so according to Sister Yamina, there's an echo. Um, oh, it was her. Okay. Um, we demand we demand no refunds. This is worse than Anita
No,
Baker and
no
Babyface.
refunds. No refunds. We're not giving any refunds. No, I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to. Hey. You can turn. You can redeem your coupons. For another show. We'll allow you to do
Right,
that. But no refunds. We
right.
don't give refunds here at Anu. Nah.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry. It sounds like an airline. We're not giving you the ticket money back, but if you book another flight, then
Right.
we'll take something off it.
Right. We'll help you get
Talk
where you
about
want to
that.
go. But that's it.
Yeah, talk about navigation systems. We got lost on the way here.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't know if it's a storm or what, but we're here.
Yeah, I
We're
think it's
here.
the
We're
storm.
back. We're back.
Yeah, I blame the Wi-Fi. But
Yeah.
I'll just go through and greet everyone who was already here. Should be out bright and early. Chief was here from 7:30, 7:24.
Oh wow.
Um, all right, so peace, Chief yeah, peace to Chief, peace on the radio, Sister Yamina, peace, Safta Naya, peace, Sister Margie Marie Art, peace, Safta Hava. It's the lateness for me though. How about y'all? Oh man, 1,000 partners. They live on um the one schedule for Next Strong, which I gotta say, y'all are on point. I didn't even know there was one schedule for Next Strong. I thought y'all just did it by the strong. I clicked the first thing I saw. No reading comprehension. Uh, Sister Sovereign Eats. Sister Maria. Um, you see all of the. Please, everyone, please hold on. Stay in your seats. Please don't leave. We're
Right.
coming right now.
No intermission. No intermission. There's not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Right. Please, Aki Jason. Please, Aki Darian. Um, Peace, Sister Yafe, over there cackling. Chief said technical difficulties. Yeah, they didn't read the date. They ain't technical difficulties. That's visual impairment. Hey, I just got the fluid for my contact lenses, so I can wear them now. So yeah, I won't be blind after tonight. I won't be blind. Um, oh, peace, Dr. Gertrude. Yeah,
Peace,
peace,
Dr.
peace, peace.
Gertrude.
See, the
We send
thing
you love
is,
and happiness. Peace and love to
right,
you. And
we was
Saba
stalling.
Walcott.
Yeah, right. Peace to Saba Walcott as well, Saba John. Yeah, we were waiting for you actually. So we were stalling until you got here, and now that you're here, we can start. Uh, yeah,
Do
so
you
we're building on Oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna ask, do you want to play that what we did? I don't know, because we played the other one. Do we need to play that over? The beginning part, or just wing it like Akizaka said?
We could do it at the end
Yeah,
because
okay.
the whole purpose of doing that is we do it at the end. I'll explain at the end. But
Yeah.
we were building on a navigation system and the concept of having a compass. We were talking about the book from Chief The Compass, and pulling a few excerpts from that. And he was explaining that with a compass, you're working with a device or a tool that helps to point you towards where you need to go, or helps to orient you on your journey. You know, you have a device that has a needle that points to magnetic north, and it also sits inside of a medium. But what you need for your compass to do is to actually be able to operate without any interference, right? That's what you and I were sharing a little earlier, you know, when we were about to start on the other space. But yeah, a compass is very important, a very important tool if you need to, let's say you're in the wilderness, or if you're on the sea navigating. You know, a lot of ships come with their built-in navigational systems. If you're operating aircraft, or yeah, even if you're just camping and hiking, and you need to make sure that you can orient which direction you came from and which direction you need to go in. You know, and with that book, The Compass, we pulled a couple of excerpts from there, you know, and we're going to try to read them verbatim. And we got to give thanks to Chief Yuya, who is the author, you know, and we definitely got to big up Aki El Karar, and you know, big up Aki Zak, you know, for our midday affirmative, for our segment last night. Aki El Karar was dealing with education, you know, and breaking out like a lot of gems from Neely Fuller Jr.'s book, and also with Chief Yuya's podcast, you know, and we're dealing with motherhood, and Chief was pulling from Proverbs, dealing with wisdom, you know. But you had anything you wanted to add on? You were speaking about those segments a little earlier. You had anything you wanted to add on, like any takeaways from those segments, like Akizak segment?
Yeah, when Akizak, when he did "Who's in Your Ear" on Yom Rishon, and yeah, this, because it's funny thing about the ear, you know, everything's about balance. Everything, you know, like we were saying about the navigation system. Navigation is very vital and important to get around, to get to your destination. Aircrafts, air aircrafts, boats, um, any type of transportation, pretty much. And it's interesting because as we were talking about a compass. Now, this is before some people probably don't even never seen a real compass before. I mean, because we're so used to, you know, our electronic devices, we call it a cell phone, but most people really don't understand a simple compass, which is very important. It if you don't have it, if you don't utilize it properly, it could become a disaster. Actually, it will be a disaster if you don't have the proper navigation. Okay, if you don't have, you know, you need that in your life. So that's, you know, we're just gonna be building from that, from our build tonight, from our fellowship.
Right. And what also helps too is Chief had made reference to certain guides that we may have along the way who can serve as a compass. You know, because we don't always know. I'm sorry. We don't always know where true north is or where magnetic north is.
Right.
You know, sometimes we need someone to just pause and point it out for us. And being able to humble ourselves and admit, I'm lost, you know, that can help you to start, because you stop moving. You know, it's like they say, if you ever find yourself in a hole, stop digging. You know, first thing you should do is put down the shovel. And that putting down the shovel is like just stopping to look around, like where am I? You know, and having a guide that says, you in a hole, bro. You know, can you pull me up? It's like, nah. You know, I'm gonna help you to get out of this hole, but you have to admit that not only that you're in the hole, but you need some assistance. And then after you get out of the hole, they're also there to help you to not fall back into that same hole or in
Right.
another hole. like you got to get on a path now, because you've been digging straight down, and once you start to gain a balance first, get level, get on steady and stable footing, and get up to higher ground, then you can actually start moving towards where you're supposed to go. But you can't even get on the path yet, because you have to look around and orient yourself and determine where you are and where your destination is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's why direction and guidance is so important. Like what Chief was doing in enlightenment and transformation, how to be free of resentment and forgive. If you don't, what I love about what he was sharing in that is, and when he did the topic is, do you have to forgive? And he's like, no, the answer is no, you don't. And so what was he breaking down was that part of that forgiveness, one for yourself, is being in one with everything around you, with everything, including the things that you don't want, including the things like the people that you have a challenge with. When you're being in one with it, you're coming from different perspectives, going back to the navigation system as you were sharing. Mm-hmm. That way it's not about I'm a victim. It's not about, right, I'm being wrong. It's about I'm being in oneness. So that's where that compass comes in. Mm-hmm. The compass, if it's not broken or so, it's always going to go due north, regardless of what direction, mm-hmm, you're going. It's always going to go, right, due north, and it's red.
Or if there's no interference.
Yeah, like you said, if there's magnetic issues, that's why they say with a real compass, you cannot have anything magnetic around it. And I know you're going to do this, the video of the battery with the light. Right. But the thing, right, is, you can't have no interference. So that's going back to what she was sharing about how to free yourself from resentment. You don't want to have the resentment means you're hating that person. You're bitter. You're like the Chief was breaking that down in that segment, and it's like, but when you remove all of that, then you don't have all the interference. You're basically focusing. It's about focusing. So if I'm focusing on doing what is right, and I'm just trying to paraphrase what Chief was breaking down in that segment, it's basically how to free yourself from resentment, how to free yourself from all this bitterness or so, but just, again, staying focused. Okay.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna play this short clip.
Sure.
It's not that long. It's a little under 2 minutes, and then we'll get back into it.
Right now, in Morehead City, North Carolina, our boat is facing 60 degrees, which is east-northeast, looking at the magnetic compass, and I want to show you some things that you need to be aware of. All of the stuff that we have sitting up there on the dashboard, all day long, the compass, the magnetic compass, never agreed with the GPS compass. And we figured out why. Look at this. So you can see we swing from 60 degrees to somewhere around 120 degrees. And let's put that over there. Look at it go again. This compass is crazy, but it's not the compass fault. Inside of this bag, there are a lot of small little flashlights with batteries in them. And they were just sitting up here all day long. And we had discussions for the entire trip. Why does the GPS compass not agree with the magnetic compass? So it's real simple. Things like these flashlight batteries, cell phones, handheld radios, anything with microphones, anything with speakers, anything with a lot of battery power in it can disrupt the magnetic north in a magnetic compass. So if your compass doesn't agree with your GPS or with your autopilot compass, try to pull all the stuff away from the magnetic compass.
Okay. So I saw that I was looking at different things with compasses, and then Abba Herut, you had mentioned to me that sometimes a compass can be knocked off balance, if it's too close to interference. And I was like, I didn't know you could interfere with a compass, so I started looking into it, and it's like, sure enough. And this was like one of the first few videos I saw. And from what I read, batteries don't always interfere with compasses, but for this particular compass, um, these devices do mess with it. This is a navigational system on a ship, and I thought it was a interesting um, correlation to what we're talking about tonight. And when he was saying anything with a microphone, that like sparked my ears, because I remembered, like, when you're talking to a young person and they just have their phone in their pocket with music blasting, or they have their earbuds in, or they're texting while you're speaking to them, and it's like they're halfway there and halfway somewhere else. So as a result, they get the benefits of neither. And what it made me think of is the quote, which I'm gonna butcher, so I'm not gonna say it, because they spoke about it during a study session, but I wasn't present at that one. It's related. I'll say that. I won't try to guess it and butcher it. But it was something where you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or you're half of you is here and half of you is not. And because of that, you don't get the benefits of walking the path correctly, right? You don't reap the rewards of someone who's actually dedicated to the path and approaching it with reverence and a level of sincerity, because you're just waiting for the handout. You're just waiting. It's like if you're trying to feed a dog, and before you even put the food in the bowl, the dog is just staring at the bowl like, you don't exist anymore. I'm just waiting for the point where the food hits the bowl. I'm just waiting for the hand. Just give me the free stuff. Just, where's the information? What's the gems? Give me that. Get to the point. Get to the punchline. I don't want to hear all of this buildup. I don't want to hear all this context. I don't want to hear all this historical background. I just want the thing that will make me feel better, so that I can continue meandering, instead of walking the path. Even in terms of Chief touched on this on numerous occasions, but also in the book, in the compass, where you have followers of the way, right? And you have the way, and the way is telling you which way you should walk, and even how you should walk. And I think it's important to stop and assess if there's any interference with the guidance that we're getting from our compass, which our chief Jegna is serving as a compass.
And that's why it's so vital that, like you were saying about our compass, like I said, we have a chief Jegna, we have elders, we have everything surrounding us that gives us the ability to stay on course. Okay. We have the tools. Okay. But it's amazing to me how most people don't recognize or don't really realize how important that if they're not navigating. Matter of fact, it's funny, we talk about navigation systems, the Titanic, and of course they had a disaster with this. They were trying to explore, and something happened where it imploded or so. But I'm not going to get into all that. But the point is, the Titanic was heading in the direction of an object, which we knew it was an iceberg. Now, could it have avoided that iceberg? This goes back to, it's going to resonate with people. Yes. But why it didn't steer, or now you had the navigation system on there. You had the captain. You had different crews on the ship that handle the borders and everything. So now you have all this. But the key is, can you go in the wrong direction and not be steered in the wrong direction and have really disaster? Yes. And so it's interesting with people's lives. Their lives are like that Titanic. It's heading in the wrong direction. It's heading in a direction where it's going to collide. But guess what? They always told, guess what? It can't sink. It's too big. It's massive. We got Kool in the gang on the ship. We got all this China. We got these billionaires, millionaires. These people want to get on a ship to navigate into a course going in a direction where it was going to collide. But the funny thing behind all that is there was a book that was published, I think it was some years before it even happened. So the point is, you didn't think it was going to sink. You didn't think it was going to crash or collide. So it's interesting that we've had different levels in life history that people were navigating in the wrong direction, and they did not take heed into changing course, go find a compass or find the right compass, because it's not just, you can have a compass that's broke, that's not functionable. Okay? You can have some people that don't even know that is a compass. I'm like, wow, what is this thing? I'm pretty sure that when you showed that video, people probably thought that was a clock. It's funny. The point is, if you don't have all the tools, if you don't have all the right coordinates, if you don't have everything that's going to take in place for you to steer in the right direction, guess what? You're going to head into a dangerous, and it can be fatal. And in most cases, most people's lives is that way. It's fatal. Why? You could have steered. You could have, if you utilized the tools, if you utilized the right, proper navigation system, you would have steered the course. We call it, I love how Chief did the solutions for dysfunctional families. If anything, we can utilize that book besides the compass. The compass is, the compass, Chief wrote these books. Why? So you don't steer in the wrong direction. But you got to use it. Are you using it for the right purpose?
Right. Yeah. Are you using it for the right purpose is a good question, because it's often that Chief would give all of this information and people will cherry pick, and they don't necessarily want the full thing. What they want is the good parts. But it's like watching a movie for the first time. You never watched it before, and you're trying to skip through to find the good parts. How do you know where the good parts are? Eventually you skip around enough, you'll find a scene and say, ooh, someone's fighting, and you try to skip around to find the beginning of that scene. And it's like, but you don't even know why they were fighting, and the whole time you're rooting for the wrong person. This person who you're rooting for is like, oh, I like that. I like what he's wearing, or I like what he's saying. He's making sense. And the whole time he's making a case for pedophilia. And people are trying to stop him. He just kidnapped a bunch of kids, and you don't know who this person is. You don't know what they're about, but you want to jump around and look for what's flashy and what grabs your attention. So having a compass is very important. And we got slides, y'all. Yeah, we got slides. I know we typically just go for it. we don't do the fancy stuff that everybody else did, but we have some slides for tonight just to make sure that we stay on topic. So let me make sure I do these in the correct order. So these are excerpts from that book, The Compass, by Chief Yuyao, which you can get on Amazon or on Kindle. And it says, a compass is typically held and level in the hand of its user. Similarly, the mechanisms that we use to map out our own paths in life must also be held in our clutch. Uh-oh.
Why?
Got
What's
some
wrong?
connection issues. Oh, I got some connection issues on my end. Okay,
Okay.
there we go. In order for a compass to work properly, it must first be leveled to get an accurate reading. Let's look at the idea of leveling while concurrently exploring the idea of balancing. Well, that delay is real. Okay, so to suitably apply and get a clear reading from the guides, counselors, and compass in our lives, we must first be in balance. By first being stabilized, we can rightly use the tools that have been given to us in order to map ourselves to our cardinal points in life. So, just to stop there, we're talking about being able to take in the teachings that Chief has been offering us. But what's the first things the Chief always speaks about? Integrity, character, honor, warrior code, morality. These are things that people don't teach on because most of their customer base and their target market, in a lot of cases, needs to be off balance. And the service I offer is I'm going to balance you, as opposed to saying, no, you need to live upright. You need to live a righteous life. You need to live correctly. And this is how you do it. First, you need to center yourself and understand where you're at. You have to do a level of self-assessment. But if you don't do the self-assessment, then how you going to utilize all these tools effectively or responsibly? You're not.
Right.
You're going to take what you're getting, and then you're going to run rampant with it. You're going to run wild, you're going to run around in circles and do what your subconscious tells you to do and what you've been pre-programmed to do. And then you're going to create an even bigger mess. And then you'll turn around and there's that resentment again. You turn around and say, what Chief told you didn't work.
Right.
What Chief was off. Chief told me this is going to happen. It's going to fix my life. My life ain't fixed yet. It's like, come on, bro. You didn't use the tools properly. You didn't make sure it was balanced. You didn't make sure it was level.
Or like he said, like Chief would say, a lot of people would blame him. They'll say, well, you're too aggressive, Chief. You're too, I remember when he was listening to the segment, you're too aggressive. You're too mean. What do you mean? I'm like, okay. So, and again, I'm following. This is what a Jegna is. This is what we have elders. This is what we have counselors, just like you were just reading off. If you don't have that proper guidance to guide you, now, of course, most people don't like that. Fine. We ain't talking to you. I don't care. You're going to sabotage anyway. You're going to run into that iceberg like that big Titanic. Fine. Go ahead. But not us. Because why? We understand to allow ourselves to be navigated into the direction, in the right direction, because it's very important to understand that. Can a compass point you in the wrong direction? If it's properly set up, yes. But say if you have a compass and it's north is pointing south and south is pointing north. That's where you hear all this stuff going on right now. It's interesting, as you were sharing, Master Menyelek, we're talking like pedophilia. It's amazing to me how people just now getting comfortable with that to the point where you mean to tell me you allow someone to harm your child, but now pedophilia is like acceptable? I ain't gonna get into the trans fat thing. I just shorten that. But the point is, you're allowing that to navigate you to a point where it's going to bring harm to your child or to your loved one? Really? You're going to allow your emotions? Well, no, it's okay. They can teach it in school. We need to know this. But you're confusing people. Again, you're navigating in the direction until it's too late. Then you're going to look like Chief says. You're going to have a consultation. And you don't like the direction he gave you. Okay, well, what direction you're going? Or better yet,
I don't know.
But yet, how many people have tried to give him? They'll sign up for a consultation, and want to give him that they want to edit the consultation like you called Chief. He didn't call you. You called him for what? Directions. So now you want to give instructions on how to navigate on where you're going, and guess what? You don't even know where the hell you're going, but now you're mad at Chief because, well, Chief, I don't want to go over there if I be a woman because I don't know what a woman is anyway. But Chief's gonna help you with directions. Or I'm gonna be a man. What is a man? What is that? But if I don't navigate onto the directions of what I'm supposed to be, guess what? It's gonna be a confusion. So I just wanted to add that.
No, that's on point. Because again, these people saying, this is what children need to learn, or is harmless. Like, you're providing interference for the navigational system. And now, I think there was a law recently passed in California where if you don't allow the interference to take effect, the state can take your children. This has been going on for a long time, with the idea that the state has to be the father of the children. But it's more blatant, where everyone's like, these are all our children. It's not your children. It's not his child or her child. It's everyone's child. So everyone gets a say in how your child moves. And it's like Chief said, everything the Most High creates, the Satan perverts,
right?
And distorts. So now here it is. You have the community model, which we follow, and the child is everyone's responsibility in terms of not even everyone's responsibility. Everyone knows that this child is inside of Anu or inside of a particular culture, and you know that you're upholding and defending the culture. So when you see this child and they're doing something that's not with the culture, you let their parent know, but you also let the child know, we don't do that.
Right.
We don't do that at all.
Right.
And you direct them towards their parents. Their parents is their compass. Just like how I stated earlier, our Chief Jagna is our compass. Where's the compass pointing towards? True north.
Right.
It's pointing towards the Most High. And that's where all of our compasses should always be pointing. So what's the interference?
Right.
What's interfering with your connection with the Most High? What's your bag of batteries, or your bag of microphones or speakers, or who's in your ear? Like Akizak was building on. Are you listening to multiple different voices, and how do you eliminate that chatter? That's one of the things that trips a lot of us up. There's chatter that we like, it's background noise that's drowning out the signals that we're getting, telling us, no, you're supposed to be going this way. Like how Chief is speaking about wisdom. Wisdom is crying out in the street or at the gates. It's crying out, but you want your AirPods to be as loud as possible, or your noise canceling headphones to be on, so that you don't need to hear anything that you don't want to hear. And you can tune everything out. And that's one of the tragic things about people being willfully lost, and then convincing themselves that they know where they're going.
Exactly. Like you said, like, what path are you on? Are you on the right path? And it's amazing how, like I said, it's funny when some will get asked for directions. Well, most will, some will ask, but then most won't. And then the question is utilizing those directions. But it's amazing to me, it's amazing that people are accepting the wrong, the opposite. Like you said, we allow that Satan energy just navigate us towards another direction. Like you were saying, like we were having interference issues with our connection. Okay, it was just interference, but we didn't allow that interference to interfere with what? Not only the topic, but not only we didn't allow the interference to interfere with our way of life, how we're living. Okay, I think about what Akolti Maria and Sapta Ahava were sharing on seeing the source. We're understanding where we are, what is in front of us and being presented. What are we doing? Like I said, when making sure, like Chief was mentioning in the segment, how to be free of resentment and forgive, not making poor decisions, not making excuses, not letting your emotions control your dictator, your direction of where you're going. But just the bitterness, like you said, let it go. Let it go. It's gonna what? It's gonna interfere with your interference, with your direction where you're going. And so that's why for us in Anu, for a lot of people that don't know, in Anu, we have to work. This is work. You and I were working at preparing for this segment. Aki Zach does the same thing. Akolti Maria and Safta Hava, Akolti Yafe, El Karar. What do? Prepare, work, navigation, utilizing their tools. They have all different types that can help them navigate in the direction we're going. And then also their way of, because we have our Chief Jegna and we're taking directions and we get the directions from him, we are able to help one another navigate. Chief is teaching us men how to be Jegnas in training. And what does that mean? He's our head Jegna, but we can, if we allow and utilize the tools, we can navigate and make sure. And then wait a minute, how to go through the treacherous waters, how to go through and navigate through those moments where it's bumpy. I know you're going to read up about the mountain climbing, which I love, but what we were talking about earlier, I'm not going to go mountain climbing with some sandals. I'm going to break my legs if I do that. Okay. But there was times I remember when I used to do it, it's been a while now. The instructor always tell it, don't make sure you wear what? Comfortable boots, basically both boots. But point is, Chief gives us an ability and gives us the tools like, okay, if you utilize this, we don't do that. Don't utilize those tools. Those tools, are not a part of our culture. That's not a part of us. But if you utilize these supreme mathematics, so you utilize the compass, you utilize the Anu way. These are different tools that we can utilize that we won't sabotage. We won't sabotage. We won't go off course. Okay? So that's why all of this plays a major role in the direction of where we're going.
For sure. Yeah, and that part about hiking, like that hit hard because I used to walk outside barefoot a lot, especially when I was like a little boy. I would refuse to wear shoes on my feet, and I just always like running everywhere because people always used to send me stuff. Don't go get me one. Go get me a soda from the shop next door. Go running barefoot. Go on the beach, running barefoot. Even when we're on, we call it honeycomb rock. It's rock that's really close to the seaside, and the salt water like erodes the rock, so it's really jagged and sharp. I'd be walking on that barefoot. You know what I mean? Come to find out, my mother said she used to walk on it barefoot when she was pregnant with me. It's like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, But it's just the idea of, okay, if I'm going hiking, I could go hiking barefoot, or I could wear some shoes, especially if this is my first time hiking. I was used to run around barefoot because I was always comfortable with my terrain and with the area. I wouldn't go anywhere that was strange to me barefoot. I don't know if there's broken glass or anything like that, but just understanding your surroundings as well, it helps, because what happens is you develop sort of an internal compass. When you're comfortable with your surroundings, you know how to navigate the area that you're in. But that can work against you sometimes if you're too comfortable with it. Because if you have to travel outside of the comfort zone and you don't intuitively know where everything is, then you need a guide. If you travel to another country for the first time, um, you can explore, sure, but even while you're exploring, you're still tapping into other people, and it's like, hey, do you know where this place is, or do you know I can get something to eat, or do you know a good place to go shopping, or do you know where they don't try to rip off the tourists with these exorbitant prices because they can tell that you're a tourist, and they'll guide you. They'll say, oh, you can go over here, or you can go around there. Even if they speak a different language, they'll help you out because they realize that they're more comfortable with the surroundings than you are. But it's scary for a lot of us when we realize that A, I'm about to leave my comfort zone, and B, I'm gonna have to ask someone who knows better than I do, and who's walked this path before I've walked it. Not only to tell me which direction to go, but how to walk the path. It's like someone can say, "Oh yeah, you can go to the shop around the corner, but listen, don't go around everywhere with this gold chain on. Don't be walking down the street with that gold chain on. People will rob you, and they'll know you're a tourist, so they don't care about you. So yeah, leave that chain in your hotel room, or leave it at home. Don't tuck it in like Red from Friday. Leave it at home so you don't attract any bad characters. Try to dress down. Don't attract any type of attention. They'll show you how to walk the path as opposed to just walking in the direction that they point in. And we'll get to that in a moment because that's a point that I got from the book, from the compass as well. But I just want to address the chat. I want to acknowledge the chat, and I saw some activity earlier. I think some people came in. Peace, Aki Isaiah. Peace, Aki Rahim. Peace, top tier speakers. Peace, Brianna Sawyer. Oh, you're reading ahead of me, aren't you?
Yeah, I just read what Chief said. I know you're gonna read it.
Okay. Sovereign Each says the piece that really stood out to me in the visual example was the unnecessary but seemingly innocent. Oh, okay. It's like, what's that word? Seemingly innocent bag of batteries that impeded the functionality. How many times do we identify with the right thing, but the company we keep is the impediment? Right, exactly. Like I think it was in the book of Romans, bad company ruins good character. I think this one was for you, Abba Herut. The novella Abba Herut is referring to is called Futility. It was written in 1898, sorry.
Yeah.
14 years before the Titanic sinking. It was already titled Wreck of the Titan. I read it. It's eerily similar. Wow.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Wow.
I haven't read it, but I did hear about it. But that's kind of eerie. You like Chief just said, there's a book that's written before the Titanic, and then it actually happened. But then again, did they pay attention to the book? I guess was a copy of the book on the ship. We don't know. I mean, can you imagine you be on the ship and you're reading that book? Because the book was written before they were on the Titanic. So, but yeah, I heard about it some time ago, years ago. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Wait a minute, they written the book before it even happened. So
right, it's basically what it reminds me of is The Simpsons.
Yeah,
because a lot of things happen in The Simpsons,
a lot of things.
And then Sister Yafe says, yeah, we got citations. We citing it up over here. We make sure we give due, give all due citations. Yeah. Sovereign, he says, yes, the Caribbean is under severe storm warnings right now. We understand. I think you might be talking about I could be wrong. You might be talking about technical issues or Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Um, that first mistake was a mistake. I made a wrong turn. I should have turned left at Albuquerque, but I opened the wrong line, um, the trans spot, right?
That's what I was laughing at.
Okay. Yeah, the that interference with divine thought. Yeah, exactly. See, Afri says, love the analogy, Akeem. It's like when we are supposed to be tuned into a specific frequency on the radio, we allow or even look for the station with the worst information. Yeah, the worst, and all of it is information and input. Music is information, news is information, talk shows, commercials, all that is information. And yeah, some people just look for background noise.
Mm-hmm.
I treat some of my music like background noise. Sometimes, I might be cooking, or I
Yeah.
might be writing something out, and I just want something playing in the background. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's just um, you need that silence as well. I
Right.
think silence is very underrated. You know, especially in regards to having a clear head, so there's no interference. And I think we're caught up. This is the last one. TQ says electrons moving from higher potential to lower will create a magnetic force through electrical current. Low vibrations can become a magnet even at the atomic level.
Mm.
Wow.
So I
Yeah.
think about the
I
atomic
can I
bomb.
can see that.
Huh?
No, I was thinking about light. I had to brush up on some light, dealing with some art stuff, and I looked into just what light is, and when electrons move like rapidly, like they oscillate, they move back and forth, um, like further away from the proton, closer further away, they can generate a certain level of energy, and the let's say the byproduct of that energy that they produce, because they have so much of it, once they go back to a state of calm, that or they relative calm, they go back to a state of balance. The byproduct of all of that energy of moving back and forth is light. They give off light. That's how we get photons, and it's how we can see stuff. Because there's a lot of electrons constantly vibrating. But for it to slow down, because it's electric and magnetic, because it's moving back and forth.
Okay.
But if you just have the magnetic, because of the low vibrations, you have you can create a magnet even at the atomic level. Yeah, that's super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. And the magnets sometimes that we are tuned into, because we're pointing towards north, right?
You're right.
And sometimes the magnets that we're tuned into, like we were saying earlier, can be interference, and it could be those things that we resent. One of the examples Chief had used in that series that he did, because there's 3 videos Chief did back in
Right.
2016 about resentment and forgiveness. And one of the segments, he had mentioned that sometimes our resentment is we were steered in the quote unquote wrong direction. You grew up and your parents may not have been um, as savvy about how the world works, or they may not have given you information that may have helped you to. Um, they may not have started you off with the best information, but it's the best of what they had. But when you learn better, you may come to resent them, and you try to move away from what they gave you, but you don't move towards anything. You're just trying, because of your resentment, you're moving away from what it was, um, that you thought was the cause of all of this confusion that you're now experiencing. And it's like you're repulsed by um, that past information, as opposed to attracted or pulled towards the truth. So it can lead to people delving into all kinds of different spiritual systems, or political movements, or political organizations. You may join fraternities. You may just decide to be promiscuous. You make all of these different decisions, but it wasn't for anything. It was just against something. So you're moving based off of, like Chief was saying, that love is understanding. The misunderstanding is the hate. But you're moving based off of misunderstanding. You don't want any clarity or truth of it. You may just want to experience something different. So you rebel, but you're like a rebel without a cause. So
Right.
your navigation system is all out of whack.
And it's funny, as you were sharing that, like what Chief was sharing from those segments, I look at my journey growing up as a kid, and yes, my grandparents, great-grandparents, parents did the best they could, but I graduated it because I'm desiring to stay focused. Now, well, of course, as a kid, I didn't realize what focus was. I was told what to do. So it's so funny. But the thing was, in that again, navigating, whereas for me, not being resentful of, there was, before understanding this, and I knew, I can understand, like some people say, well, I was raised, my parents were very strict. It's interesting when you listen to people and the way they veer off somewhere. They'll veer off in a whole direction, and then they'll blame their parents or they'll blame someone else. But then the question is, after a while, you look at all of that, and going back to when Chief did that segment, like you said, there's 3 of them, is that when you let go of all of that resentment, you let go of all of that craziness, on the journey up to I know I was being navigated. I knew the Most High was navigating me towards something. Did I always understand it? No. But that compass, long as you keep, what's always amazing to me about a compass? Even though it's North Pole and they said it's magnetic field, like Chief just put in the chat, it was always amazing to me. How does it know that the North Pole is a North Pole? Like it's how that strong magnetic field has to be so strong for it to. You could be anywhere in the world and it's always pointing in that direction. I was always fascinated by that as a kid because I was in Boy Scouts, and I remember I used to have the rectic sack. And I used to have things that, you make a radio and stuff like that. Oh, if I ever find one of those things, you use a battery and you make a radio or a compass or so. And I know one day I'll find one. But the point of all of that is when you're utilizing those systems into navigating. But I was always, back to what I was thinking about, I was always fascinated. How does it know it's due north? How come the compass doesn't... How does the compass doesn't know that it's really pointing south, but it's really, deviating from the north versus south? But the point is frequency. It knows it's pointing north. Even though that little compass is simple. It's a simple tool. So simple we don't even use it anymore. Isn't that interesting? But the point is, if it's working properly and it points in that direction, and regardless, the point is you're going in that direction. You're going in a direction where we're supposed to be heading. So I utilized the time growing up as a kid. Yeah, things weren't always the best and everything, but it didn't matter. I was still navigating to where we're at, and I knew where it navigated me to where we're at. The point is staying on course. Okay. Did we deviate sometimes? Of course. But I didn't deviate to the point like, I'm going north. This compass says this way, we're going this direction. Okay. But look, it's funny. Look at the sun. Rises in the east, sets in the west.
It's funny.
Like a compass.
Right.
How come the sun don't rise in the north and set in the south? those are little things that always go in my head. But the thing, that's how I can set direction. I know, okay, like high noon, east, west, high noon, morning, high noon, evening, north, south. The point is going in that direction and basically, like I said, following that path, staying on that path. And so that's what I look at when we're utilizing this topic and in direction and making sure that we're staying, and again, not getting lost in the commotion. Like most people will say, well, my parents used to beat me. Maybe you needed to get beat. But did it keep you on the path? Yeah. Okay, then they beat you. Because why? But some people today, look what happens now. You can't beat because you listen to society. Can't beat your kids no more. Can't do this no more. It's funny. They'll tell you can't beat your kid, but you can have pedophiles. Or let's have someone dressed in drag and teach your child. That's amazing that they can talk about that, but you can't beat your kids though. And I ain't saying for those of you outside I knew beat the hell out of them where they out of conscious. Yeah, I've been through that where I was whooped so hard where you couldn't breathe, like you pause. But the point is, it kept me on course. Yes, I got those spankings, but it kept me on course. Why? I didn't want because my parents at that time were guiding me, so I didn't veer to the wrong. But that's where I'm at today. This is why I'm in I knew. Because if I didn't get those sets of directions, if I didn't get that sense of corrective actioning, I like that. We call the beating corrective actioning. I could have veered off. I could have veered off another course, and I'll be putting a dress on, like they do in Hollywood. Man, you got to wear a dress. Mm-hmm. Women, you got to wear a suit. For what? Because you got to be the opposite of who you are. I'm not going to be the opposite. The Most High has me be a man. I'm not ashamed of that. Okay.
I'm sorry, Chief. Are you saying the sound is gone? Put a one. Someone put a one in the chat if you can hear, please.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Maybe that navigation system. You're like, uh-oh.
Oh, okay. Okay, not at all. Okay, they can hear. Okay.
They can hear. Okay.
I thought the sound was like gone. It might have cut out for a few seconds.
Well, I'm pretty sure I navigated something and it kind of threw the AIs off and everything. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. We're scrambling. What did he say? What did he say again? Can he say it again? No, I ain't saying it again. No, I ain't saying it again. You ain't throwing me off.
Oh, the timing was interesting. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go back to the slides and then.
Sure.
But before that. Okay. So, Red CPU's comment. Sovereign Eat says, Master Menyelek, you mentioned that background noise that we play, and I realized that noise becomes like a bag of batteries. Yeah, it does, because your movement it kind of ceases to be a meditation in a way, because you don't allow you're moving at one with your thoughts. And I was thinking about that the other day. Like certain people say they don't go running with headphones on while they're playing music because it sort of distracts from what's going on with your body when you're running. Because you sometimes you use it, sometimes I use it to like numb out the feelings of wanting to stop.
Yeah.
As opposed to using willpower to just keep pushing forward and to stay in that groove. So I may be listening to loud music and headphones, like I'm not focusing on the running, I'm focusing on the headphones. I'm focusing on a podcast, I'm listening to an audiobook, which is nothing wrong with. But I can understand where the other side is coming from too, where it's like, okay, you're moving, you have an opportunity to have a conversation with your body, or you have an opportunity to be alone with your thoughts. You may be running, but it could be a form of moving meditation, but it may be blocked out if you're listening to music, especially if it's music you've heard before and you just want to be like sing along. Like sometimes I'd be singing along and running and stuff like that. So yeah, I could definitely see where you're coming from. I think she's continuing in this next comment. We think nothing of the noise, but the subconscious mind is being programmed. Noise is also the choices that we make, and then we have to consider self-sabotage. Yeah. This is true. Okay, sound is back. False alarm. I'm interested in seeing where the sound went off. The sound may need some corrective actioning. The timing was interesting. TVS says. Chief also says some animals have what is called magnetoreception abilities. They can sense true north through their ability to sense that magnetic field. We and human bodies have similar receptors in our eyes. Okay. I didn't know that. Anything of magneto. Though we have huge amounts of iron in our body, our blood is not susceptible to magnets. But I think our blood is sensitive to magnetic fields. That is definitely possible. Yeah, man, iron, magnetic fields. And thinking of Magneto again. There's a scene in X-Men where they in order to break out of a plastic prison, they inject one of the prison guards with the one who's responsible with feeding him. They inject him with a bunch of iron, and he just takes all of the metal out of his blood. It's a very brutal scene, but takes all the iron out of his blood and escapes, uses it to escape. As you were speaking too about the sunrise, Abba, you made a point of utilizing the sunrise to orient yourself. And I laughed to myself because I was thinking, oh, well, I shouldn't have been thinking while you were speaking.
No, it's okay.
Was the Avengers. Yeah, what came to mind was the Avengers. I think it was the first or the second one, and I think the navigation system on the ship that they were flying, it went haywire, right? So he was saying, Nick Fury, who was the captain of the ship, he was telling them what to do, and he gave them directions. And the guy who was manning the controls, he was like, I can't, sir. Our navigation's going down. I don't know where we are. It's like, is the sun coming up? He's like, yeah, then put it on the left. Like you relying so much on this device that you don't realize that you've still got a compass.
Right.
You have multiple ways of orienting yourself in the world. And when your teacher does transition, you have to rely on the teachings that they gave you. And you have to rely on the path that they set you on, which is why it's so important to be obedient when they tell you how to walk the path. You know what direction you're heading in, but knowing how to walk the path helps you to stay on the path. And we're caught up with the chat. I'll go back to the slides. Or did you want to
No, you go ahead.
Build on anything before I move on?
No, you go ahead. We'll build off of it.
Okay, let me make sure I'm on the correct slide now. Cardinal points in life. Okay, so to suitably apply and get a clear reading from the guides, counselors, and compass in our lives, we must first be in balance. By first being stabilized, we can rightly use the tools that have been given to us in order to map ourselves to our cardinal points in life. Let me move this out the way. This occurs because when the compass points to magnetic north, the back end, I feel like I skipped something. Yeah, because it was taking so long to load. A compass is usually comprised of some form of magnetic needle suspended in an environment where it has little friction, allowing it to oscillate and then eventually point to magnetic north. When a magnetic compass is pointing to the north, its needle is genuinely in balance. This occurs because when the compass points to the magnetic north, the back end of the compass needle is pointing to magnetic south. When the needle points towards the north and straightens itself towards the south, it has a leveling or harmonizing between the north and south meridian. Yeah, I gotta work on this timing, switching between these slides. If you could picture a line going directly from the North Pole to the South Pole, it would help you to understand what a compass does. It adjusts itself with the line going between the North and South poles. Yeah, man, it's very critical, that piece here that Chief is building on in that book, because when you're looking in one direction,
still got the slide up,
you have to turn your back on a different direction. No, I'm just waiting for the Lord. I'm doing Philip. But yeah, if you're looking in one direction, you have to turn your back towards the direction that you're facing away from. So if we desire to go north, we have to also put our backs to the south, moving in the direction of the things we desire and yearn for in life requires us to be cognizant of the things we do not want. And that is so critical to that navigation system too, because when you're pointing towards where you're pledged to go, or where this path is taking you, if you're always pointed towards the goal, then you'll have to be moving away from something too. And it's the act of moving away from something that sometimes motivates us to move. And in that case, we're not necessarily going towards anywhere. We're just being repulsed from something. But if you're going towards what you want, what you do not want, or as Chief had put it, some of the actions that were leading you to failure, those would be some of the things that you would need to rectify and reverse, and straighten yourself up to head towards where it is you're going, or where your guide is leading you. Chief says, if the compass needle is bent by character, the compass won't work. I got to read that again. If the compass needle is bent by character, the compass won't work.
Yeah.
You can't have a compass with a bent needle.
Right. It's got to be pointed. Can't be bent like that.
Got to be straight.
Got to be straight.
Straight.
Literally straight, not bent.
It's funny because it sounds like there's an echo on your side too.
It is. It's the ambience in the living room. It's a big place, so I just thought of that.
Right. That's funny. But yeah, man, it's got to be going straight. So Osiris life advisors serve as the proverbial compasses for those seeking direction. A coach's duty is to not only guide you to the greatest portion of your life experience, but also to alert you of the dangers conceivably nipping at your heels. So there are some things that are right behind us, and they keep calling to us. As a guide shows us which way to go, we are also instructed as to how to go. The how is a very important and specific designation in regards to what we are speaking about, The how is the manner in which we conduct ourselves. When we look at the idea of having a chaperone or a coach, the concept itself is synonymous with acquiring a code of conduct, which is interesting. We wanted to include that because Aki Okara was speaking about codes, this whole series on the compensatory code and how we should be moving throughout the world based on the context of the space that we're living in. The way in which we guide ourselves is described as the way we conduct and govern ourselves. There may be times that we choose a path to walk on, but in all honesty, we do not know how to sustain ourselves on that path because we do not know the rules that govern that route's nature. And this is where we can sometimes get into a space of resentment again, but it's a misplaced resentment. So, for instance, if I were to walk down a rocky path, we would have to use different footwear than if we were walking down a path fashioned out of wooden boards. And this goes to your, what you were speaking about earlier, the point you were bringing up about not climbing mountains wearing the wrong shoes. The same would hold true if we were going down a path or a way that required a more professional disposition as opposed to one that required a more casual inclination. And a guide gives us the rules of conduct for the path that we want to go down in order for us to make the most of the direction and also to have the ability to stay on that pathway. So just speaking again about having good character and it not just being like someone could point you like, oh, just go that way, but knowing how to walk on that path. Because how do you know if your compass is being interfered with? How do you know if your compass is bending, out of shape? A guide or a Jegna can tell you right away, nope, you're not doing that. The chief has joked up everyone in Anu at one point or another. Nope, you're not doing that. Nope, stop that. And it's always to ensure that your character and your integrity stays intact. And that's an act of love, right? Because it's an understanding. I understand the direction that you need to be going in. I understand the path that you're on, the path that you're taking. I've walked this road before you, and I can tell you what you're doing right now is going to take you off the path. And you can choose to do so, but you know better now because I just told you better. So if you choose not to do so, or if you choose to do something else or something that's off, you'll know that it's off and you'll know that you chose to do it.
As you were sharing, it made me think about when Chief did his podcast. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. We're flowing. But no, while you were sharing, it made me think about when Chief was doing his podcast, and of course he did the series in the Jezebel series, and on episode 92 and 93, it's the spiritual mother. And what touched me when Chief was breaking down, going back to again navigation. Who's navigating for the elder women? Because he's for those who didn't get to listen to the podcast, yeah, all of it. But as the latest is 93. And but he was talking about the wisdom of that mother, particularly the elder mother. But I remember growing up, my great grandmother and grandmother, they, the women, the girls had to wear dresses or present themselves in a proper way without having that. So what Chief was breaking down was, again, going back to navigation. If you're an elder mother and you're not helping your daughter navigate on being a young woman, because they're not going to get it on their own. They're going to need someone to navigate them, guide them. And it's so funny, again, going back to society, how society is amazing. Well, we know why it was done. It was done in propaganda and it was done on purpose. But what's interesting is that people are not understanding that in order to set things or make sure you're going in the right direction, no one's talking about how to dress anymore. When I see elder women dressing like the younger girls now, and their dress, and it's like disgusting to me. That's, again, navigation is off. But when Chief was breaking down in the podcast about a woman, an elder woman assisting without emotion, going back to what Chief was breaking down in how to be free of resentment, not being resentful because I wasn't taught this way, so I'm not going to teach. No, but properly guiding a young woman, as he was doing in the series, guiding to be what? Being a woman, going back to character. Okay, presenting yourself presentable, modesty. In Anu, we practice modesty. It's amazing that what we have to do now, we have to show people how to be certain things now. Because why? No one knows how to be it anymore. Going back to the compass. No one knows what a compass is. No one knows how to be navigating anymore. Right. So now we have to do these presentations to show people how to do it right so that you're navigating the right way. Because that's not working. No, it's not okay for your woman, your mate, and she's showing her body in public. That's inappropriate. That's bad navigation. That's bad character. Which is doing what? Which is promoting for the young girls to dress the same way. Okay, which is adding to, which is interesting, and I got to share this part. You're feeding into those pedophiles. It's amazing how we're talking about pedophiles, like I said, going back to that. We're talking about we don't want nobody looking at us. We don't not us, but looking at the women. Okay, but look at where you dress in public. Bad navigation system. No one wants to talk about that.
Right. And
girls wearing spandex and
look at the way you dress your children.
Exactly. Little girls are dressed. They're dressed. Oh wow, it's amazing. But the mama's dressed the same way, and in some cases the grandmama with her 31-year-old butt. But again, we're in a society that is crazy, chaotic. Like Chief said, the needle's bent. The needle's bent. They ain't the only thing bent around here. A lot of stuff's out there bent. But that's everybody's.
A lot of it is reversed.
Huh?
A lot of people aren't oriented towards true magnetic north. They're oriented towards magnetic south.
Right.
And they will fight tooth and nail to stay that way. So you tell someone, you should dress a little bit more modestly. And that's a super nice way of putting it.
Right.
But again, the ego is kept alive through what? Offense. Right? So if the ego is kept alive through offense, and your ego is what's driving you to dress this way in the first place, because think about it, you're offended when people quote unquote sexualize you, but you're also offended when people tell you to cover up.
Right.
You want to be offended, because you want the attention, good or bad attention, it doesn't matter. And then you'll act as though you don't want the attention. Oh, it's so hard out there to be a woman. No, it ain't. Just cover up. Oh, men always want to objectify me. You're objectifying yourself. But you want to project that onto someone else and then make it seem as though someone else is victimizing you.
Or like you said.
And it's I don't know.
No, go ahead.
No, I just glanced at the chat, and Chief has said sometimes the older female is in competition with the younger.
Exactly. I see that a lot. I see that a whole lot.
Man. And that navigation system is off. It's so off. And like even getting into solutions, right? Because Chief has given us, he's outlined the issue with the Jezebel spirit and how rampant it is. But he's also outlined solutions to dealing with the Jezebel spirit. And here it is now, we're getting the magnetic north. for women, right? With the spiritual mother, and
Mm-hmm.
how elders are supposed to move,
Right.
So like it's so it's so comprehensive, Chief's approach, because we've already touched on how fathers are to move, how mothers are to move. We touched on how men are to move, how women are to move, even a lot of aspects of how children are to move, how the
Right.
family unit as a whole is to move, how community moves, how a nation moves, how a spirit moves, how a physical body moves. Like all of this is navigation to let you know, okay, this is how I know I'm on path. This is how I know I'm on path. This is how I know I'm going towards magnetic north. And a lot of us gather here because we recognize, no, this feels like the right direction to go. Like you ever, I don't know, you ever been inside a space and you may not be all that familiar with it, but somehow you just know where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever experienced that. Like I experienced that a lot because I move a lot in terms of walking on foot in my day. Back in my day, but throughout my life, I moved a lot to walking on foot, and there's always something pulling me towards where I need to be. And there's an initial resistance, but there's always that pull, and it's ever so subtle. It's not a yanking like Sandman at the
Right.
Apollo. They don't pull the hook on stage, but it's like a subtle nudge, like just just go. You should go that way. It's like, all right, and I was like, go for the ride, and I go for the ride, and it's like, yo, this day just got so much better,
Mm-hmm.
just because you listen,
Mm-hmm.
yo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're able to, when you stay on course and you're guided through certain moments where it helps you to like you said, make the day a lot better. I was thinking about what you were sharing about when you were little, how you like to like walking barefoot. I used to do the same thing. Until you brought that up, I totally forgot about it. When I was little, I hated wearing shoes. I started wearing shoes. It
Yeah.
wasn't until I cut my big toe. I don't know which toe it was, but it was the big toe. I just remember it was a big toe, and a piece of my skin from the big toe, it's severed. So I remember I was like terrified. So I had got some tissue, some toilet tissue, put the skin off because I didn't want it to miss. Put it back on my toe. Somehow it mended back. I don't know how. I didn't use no Elmer's glue. I didn't use no tape. No, I just use old-fashioned toilet paper. It's bleeding and everything, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't lose my little piece of my toe. It was a piece of skin. It was a good piece of, but it stayed. That's kept me from being barefoot. I was a little boy that. But going back to being barefoot, when you're barefoot, you're able to ground yourself. You're able to feel the pulse of the earth. Feel the pulse of, it's like you said, the navigation, all natural. And also what comes to mind when she was doing about character, and when he was doing the series about the woman, it's about, like, example, making sure that she does not, okay, where's your husband? Can't give directions or so when you don't have a righteous husband. You're being led in a wrong direction. Not your boyfriend, not your guy, not your good friend, your best friend. No, your husband. And that's another thing being navigated, because you're navigated to, again, I can do, like Chief uses, I can do like one of the movies, I can do bad all by myself, and all that crazy stuff with that Byler Perry. I said that on purpose, but I did it as a joke. But my point is, we're gravitating towards that. We're gravitating towards opposites instead of gravitating towards being whole, navigating towards that woman, you're not going to be whole by yourself. Sorry. But
Yep.
again, you want to do it anyway? Fine. I would love it to one day if they do some type. You talking about navigation system? That movie, that show comes on. It's called Naked. Okay, let's do some navigation. Let's drop some men and women on an island, and let's see if you can navigate through that without cell phones, without that, and see how much you can navigate.
They did that.
I know they did
with,
that. And watch
with survival.
what they did when they did that. Right? Go ahead.
Yeah, they did that with survival. And the men were on one team, the women were on another team. And while the women were struggling to set up camp and try to get something to eat, the men were over there. First thing they did, found water. Second thing they did, established shelter. Third thing they did, they went fishing. They caught they caught a couple of fish. And they're over there celebrating. Meanwhile, the woman camp, they're miserable. The rain is coming down. They can't get the fire to start. And eventually they went over to the men's side. Like, can we share some of your fire? It's warm over here. Can we have some shelter? So the compass pointed to true north, right? This is where you need to be. You need to be covered, but you don't want to admit it because you're comfortable. That's the only space that sort of spirit can survive. I don't need no mind. The only space that spirit can survive is when you're not working for your survival. When the state is providing a cushy lifestyle, and all of a sudden you got, like we said in the Bahamas, you got hard mouth. You want to talk all that good stuff when you're comfortable and when you got someone hedging you. But the second you get out there in the wild, all of a sudden you know your place again. And that's another aspect of that leading astray. But it's also an aspect of not knowing how to walk that path. And which is why I appreciate Chief's teaching so much, because it shows you not just the direction you need to be going in, and the way that these rules were set up in terms of even just our biological functioning, but it shows you how to walk that path. How do you, even as men, especially, this is especially important for men, because your navigation system shows which direction you're leading your family in.
Right.
Which is super important. And if you don't respect your role as man, or if you don't know how to walk that role as man, you just know you're the provider and you're head of the household, you can make some off decisions, because you're not walking a particular path. And you can be accruing different sorts of karma from different paths, because you're jumping from different paths. Like, okay, I'll go here because that'll get me what I want. I'll go here because it'll get me what I want. And you don't have any discipline, you don't have any headship over you in terms of having elders or even having the Most High guide you. You're just going and wherever there's least resistance. Whereas if you follow the path, if you meet resistance, you have to push through that.
Right.
You already know you have to push through that, because if I go left or right, I'll get off the path. But if I push through it, I'll become stronger, and that will equip me to continue to walk the path. Like Chief was mentioning in the book, you may get off the path because you didn't have all the tools that were necessary when you got on the path. You just decided you wanted to get ready. And I'm super guilty of this with certain art projects that I may embark on. And every artist has a bunch of unfinished paintings that they say they're going to finish one day. And they just keep pecking at it. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to finish this. And you just push all of the energy into it. It's like, all right, nice. I finished it. Oh no, I feel so good. I'm going to start a new painting. And then you start it, and then you get through it. And as soon as the excitement wears off, and the only thing that's left is the work, then you may get off the path because you didn't have what you needed in the beginning to push through that point of resistance. Right. Or you didn't want to tap into it because you weren't prepared to walk through that. You weren't prepared to stay on course no matter what, and you may not have studied enough. That may be an aspect of moving along the path too, but that may be a tricky thing because you think, okay, I need to study a little bit more to move forward. but then you study distracting things. You get fascinated with I don't know how plants grow when you're supposed to be um, drawing a portrait of someone. Unless you're going to be adding plants to that portrait, then what does it matter? What is the mitochondria? I thought you're supposed to be drawing Al Green, not studying greens.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
man. There's a couple more things in the chat. And,
Okay.
to respect the time, we could start making.
Okay.
And start closing out.
Sure. So Chief is you want to.
No, I just put them on the screen. You can go ahead.
Okay. The eagle lives in an offense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chief Yuya also says. Also, I'm sorry. It's so funny. I'm looking at the screen and everything too. Yeah, that's called natural divine sex. Wow, interesting.
I'm not sure what that was in relation to.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand that too.
Well, we got to get better with paying attention to the chat so we can have context.
Yeah.
That was like 10 minutes ago.
And then
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Okay. And then Chief also puts on the chat, should they come under males who have no survival skills greater than their own? I guess is that a question I think Chief is referring to us? Should they come under males who have no survival skills greater than their own? And the other question was, if they do, should they teach them, or will nature take over for what was not nurtured in them? That, I guess, when we were talking about survival, when we were talking about the example.
Survival. Yeah. I remember that one. And Chief, I think he just put some clarification too. Natural divine sex is when you go into a space and just know where to go and what to. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Give thanks for the clarifier.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah. Okay. That's what you call that. Yeah. Because all right. I've been sexing. Chief said, okay, yeah. That is a good question. Should they come under males who have no survival skills greater than their own? And if they do come under males who have no survival skills greater than their own, speaking of those women, should they teach them, or will nature take over for what was not nurtured in them? So in terms of men and women getting together, and let's say the women, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm seeing with the question is, if the women have more survival skills than the men, should the women still come under those men that have less survival skills or no survival skills? And if they do come under those men, should those women teach those men, or will nature take over and the men will just suddenly know how to do stuff that wasn't nurtured in them? So if you have, let's say you have a bunch of people from, I don't know, I'm making up this combination. I don't know if these people will ever meet, but let's say you have a sister who grew up, who's descended from Mongols, right? She grew up in Mongolia. She has survival skills. She knows how to even live a nomadic lifestyle if she needs to. And she meets, I don't know, a dude who grew up and went to Ivy League school and was working an office job his whole life, has no concept of the outdoors, and they get in a survival situation. Should she teach him her survival skills? Or will nature take over and he'll suddenly know what to do? And I don't think it will if his compass is broken, like by character. But would it be possible for him to have that natural divine sex in terms of them being in a survival situation and him knowing what to do, or will that take a while for it to develop and he could get eaten by wolves by then by the time he decides to actually listen to what's being downloaded? Or will it just be something that he has to learn over a long period of time? Should she teach him, or should she remain silent, knowing what it takes to help them to survive? That's a good question.
She can help him, but the teaching part, he has to know it naturally. I'm thinking about the question as you're reading the question. I thought about this. I remember correlates to the question. I remember when I was in the priesthood, and one of the priests, he was saying he didn't think I would make it in the world. And I was confused. And I'm like, when he asked the question, I'm like, Father, before I was in the priesthood, I was in a family. I get what he was saying. In other words, I learned nature will take over if you're desiring it. So I'm to understand the question, I'm utilizing even for myself. I learned it, even though I might not have known certain things. You're going to learn it if you rely on nature, or if you rely on your. And again, I'm looking at that time. I was able to do things, even though if I didn't get it on point. But the point is, I got it. It might not have been. I call it the natural instinct. Okay. Because I went through a lot growing up that I did not know. But also I can say that I did have some sense of navigation. It wasn't to where I'm at now, but there was enough that I can survive. I would just use that as an example. I was able to make it. And if I didn't, I was an intuitive kid. I wanted to know, especially if you give me a problem and you say how to solve it. I was always studying what to solve that problem. So I'm just using myself as an example. Yeah, there's gonna be moments you're not gonna know, but nature will kick itself in, and then the same thing for the woman. A woman may not know how to have a baby. There's no manual. They don't give you no book when you're in the hospital. They don't give you that stuff. But nature will gradually, even if you don't know, I think the same thing what it has for the man is similar. It's similar to the woman, but the man can do it regardless. But now, is there cases where it can't? I'm pretty sure it could be. But for me, I was able to navigate to the best of my ability, and I got it. So I'm just looking at that as the answer to the question as you were reading it, and then commenting on it. So I would say for me, I was able to get there, but like I said, and then constantly get it. But just like I said, say if we were put on an island like Survivor, I mean, I have some survival skills. Is it fair enough to say, yeah? But I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some stuff on that island. There's gonna be some stuff that I'm gonna be doing that I don't know. I'm going to rely on my instinct that divine instinct to step in and do it. That's what I'm going to utilize. So that's my explanation to the question the chief has mentioned.
I'm thinking about this too. What comes to mind is Abigail and Nabal, right? Because you have let's say you have a woman of good understanding, and you have a male who doesn't control himself, who insults the guy who's basically running a military campaign, so that's very little survival skills, and she's under him, and I'm thinking about, should women be coming under males? That's the thing that I get stuck at.
Mm-hmm.
Males, and then should women be coming under males, and then should they be coming under males who have no survival skills greater than their own? So I'm just looking at the question to make sure I understand it right. Because
Right.
if your survival skills aren't greater than the woman's, yeah, you should come under him because
Mm-hmm.
if your survival skills are equal, he'll move in a more logical way,
Right. And I think about the man.
and even if, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Master Menyelek. I was just saying, think about the man himself. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, I'm thinking about this because is their survival more important, or is his ego more important, or is her ego more important? If survival is the most important thing, then his logic and her skills don't necessarily need to clash.
Uh-huh.
If she understands what can be done, she can say this can be done,
Right.
and he'll say, okay, we can do it that way. She may say, this can be done this way, and he'll consider, oh, we can do it that way and survive today. But if we do it this way, we may be able to survive longer,
Right.
and he's still stronger than her. They're still able to work in tandem with one another,
Right.
But the question is, should she teach him? In terms of a woman attempting to teach a man or give him instruction, mm, that's a tricky one for me
Yeah.
because it always feels like a slippery slope. But at the same time, if she was given that light and authority and she has more skills than him, but it doesn't say she has more skills. It just says that the survival skills aren't greater for the male or the female. And I think I'm understanding this question correctly, but correct me if I'm wrong. But in terms of survival, I would say work in terms of what's best for survival. She should come under his leadership, sure, because he has that logic with him, right? But again, it keeps coming back to, is that
Right.
compass level? If the compass isn't level and he's off balance, then what he says to her could be harmful to both of them.
Right.
Now they both die.
Right. And right, they die because he's relying so much on her versus himself. And then that's the thing. You could be faced with a situation and say for instance, she's trying to teach him something, okay, but if it's gonna lead to, like you said, say it's like, okay, we gotta swim over there. Yeah, but there's sharks in the lake. We gotta make a raft. Or we gotta do something. I'm not gonna get in the water because it's salt water and there's sharks there. That could be disaster. Well, but if she becomes combative, like, well, no, swim in there. Go right ahead. I'm not doing it.
Right.
But
here it is now too.
Huh?
But no, I was just saying too, in terms of knowledge coming before wisdom.
Right. Exactly.
And the thought coming before the doing, because he doesn't necessarily need to have all those skills.
Right.
You may have a man and a woman in a situation where there needs to be a business started, and she's way better at administrative stuff than he is. He can't spell. He can't type. When it comes to scheduling, he's off. But when it comes to understanding opportunities, he's way better than she is, and he has the vision. Does that mean that she needs to teach him to type, or that she needs to teach him to print a flyer, or she needs to teach him how to create a schedule, or can they work with each other, where he says, okay, we need to do these things, and she says, okay, I can do this, I can do that, and I can do this. Or he may know well enough to say, okay, you're good at this, you're good at that, you're good at that. I suck at typing. I'm not a typer. You can.
I can
type.
say it.
So
I suck at typing, no problem. But I don't need example, like you just said. Prime good example, exactly. But I know how to balance.
So
that's what matters. Exactly, the logic part.
So if he has the logic and she has all of these skills, then she doesn't necessarily need to teach him. If the nature takes over, where she says, "These are the skills I have um, at my disposal," or "Here's the skills that I have at our disposal. This is what I can do," and he says, "Okay, this is what we need." As long as that compass is pointing north, he can say, "This is what we need."
Right.
This is what we need to do, and she can do what she's good at, and he can do what he's naturally good at. But this could also be a nature versus nurture thing, because he may be a whiny little coward, and all he's thinking about, "I just want to get back to my apartment in Chicago." If he's one of those, he'll kill both of them.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So that that's a question where you got to get into specifics. I don't know. For me personally, the first place I'll go is specifics. But just looking at the question from face value, if she knows how to survive, it doesn't necessarily mean she gets to boss him around.
Right.
And say, "Okay, I know how to survive now, so I'm in charge. Go get me some firewood." It doesn't necessarily mean to be that. But the question is, should the woman teach the man, or will nature take over for what was not nurtured in them?
I'm gonna tune in. The nature will take over. I've had moments like that where I didn't know, and it happened. And I'm like, whoa. But again, that's going back to that navigation. That's that tuning in. Yeah, I have moments like that. So yeah, the nature will eventually take its course.
Mm-hmm. I think nature takes over. Okay, Chief is Sovereign Eats has mentioned something too. I'll go down the comment list. So Sovereign Eats says, "In Women Need Direction," Chief speaks of the need for women to receive direction from men who have momentum and prophetic spirit. We as women then have that spirit cascade into us.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon my delayed comment. Took a minute to type. You're the only one who commented, so don't worry about it.
No, Chief just commented as well.
Chief says, "No, I mean, besides Chief.
Right.
Chief asked the question. I have seen many instances where low-value males beat their chest and demand females come under their authority, and a female dials down her capabilities to find a place inside a very small vision." Very true. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what that's the scenario I had in mind with the whiny little coward. Like, how can she come under him? Like, if she does, he'll kill them both.
Right.
If they're in a survival situation. But if it's a capable, or at least I don't want to say I don't want to just say capable, but as a man who understands what needs to be done, a man who has vision, who can actually who won't fold under pressure. I'll say that. He can step back and say, "Okay, this is what we need to do." If she has those skills, she can use them and actually blossom under his leadership, even if he can't do what she can do. But in terms of having a man who, like you said, is low value and doesn't do what he's supposed to do, yeah, she will wither.
Mm-hmm.
She won't blossom, she'll wither, and she'll have to get away from him. Like you often say, no hammers, no hugs. And that's the danger about not walking the way properly, because we're shown the path and we're told how to walk the path, but some of us can take a little snippet of it. Men are the authority, women need to come under men. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you take that and run with it, but you don't develop. Men need to develop manhood. Men need to develop skills. Men need to be studious. Men need to be unafraid.
Mm-hmm.
or strong.
Mm-hmm. Or like you
Yeah,
said,
you'll ignore that part.
my apology, my brother. My apology.
No, I was just saying they'll ignore that part.
Right. And like you said, it's about who's navigating them, who's navigating that man. If he's not navigated, if he's not taking that proper directions or so, then yeah, he's gonna have a hard time navigating the woman or giving her directions. So yeah, it won't work. But that's why it's very important. It's very important to basically, like Chief shared, um, and again, that's in the world anyway, where there's a lot of poor judgment going on with the males. And again, it's their character. They're not building their character. They're not building their their needles bent. So their needles bent.
Yeah.
So now the needles bent for the entire direction, like I said. So you got to fix that. You got to have that. Has to be. That's very important. Going back to poor decisions, poor judgment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can lead down a very the disaster with that Titanic. Prime example we brought up earlier. That's yeah.
Right. Then the question comes, how do you fix that? Right. In terms of these low value males who beat their chest, how do you fix that?
Well,
Even with
first,
the oh, go ahead.
no. I was just answering your question. How to fix it? Unfortunately, for most of them, they don't want to be fixed. Well, you don't have. Well, it's going to be broken. But how to fix it? Who's navigating? Who's navigating you? Who's your jegna? Who's your elders? Who's those around you that's making sure, and then helping you, guiding you, giving you instructions, helping you with decisions to make sure you're navigating in the right direction. Again, going back to look what you did the when you utilized the visual of how that compass was thrown off with the batteries. That's all it takes. It takes just something simple like that, even though it's simple as like that, but all it takes is something just to throw it off. I think of a wayward ship that's the winds keep kicking it up and it just goes anywhere. It has no sense of direction. That's where the chaos comes in. So to fix it,
Yeah.
you have to have right counsel. You have to have and that's why I want to make sure it's clear. It's not just enough having anyone. You have to have a jegna. You have to have someone that's their direction is steered in the right direction. If you don't have that, then you could be led, and that's a lot. That's going on in the world too. So when you have a right,
and then a lot of it comes to. Oh, I'm sorry. This is
no. Go ahead. No.
I guess the time and delay. Now I was saying what you were speaking about. It highlights the flaws in individualism.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a community, there's always someone who's your elder.
Mm-hmm.
There's always someone who's higher up on that totem pole, and like we're talking about, the guide showing you how to walk that path. And a big part of it also is raising better children. And you raise better children because they have multiple examples of what to do, and they're shown by way of correction, not just correction from their elders, but also seeing some of their elders being corrected by their elders. That's not how you do that. Oh, you could have done it better this way. You could have done it better that way. And even seeing them receive correction in a healthy manner.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you forget how rare it is until you actually see it.
Right.
When someone receives correction in a healthy manner, they don't kick up a fuss. They don't buck back. They don't huff and puff and storm off, and then come back 2 hours later like nothing happened. Oh,
right.
Yeah, dinner ready. It's nothing like that. You're seeing all of this healthy behavior, and again, it's pointing you towards true north, and it's telling you what's in the south. What's at your back, nipping at your heels, and encouraging you to turn around and go in a direction that is not conducive to long-term survival. Because you have to be able and willing to And I'm talking about men and women, not
Mm-hmm.
the example we were given with males and females. If you have adult men and women who weren't stifled by a society that is determined to perpetuate males and females, because those are the ones who are more likely to buy into whatever I'm selling. They'll buy the clothes, they'll buy the shoes, they'll buy the hats, they'll buy the vehicles, they'll buy into fictitious belief about how wealth works. That's less competition for me on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more people to keep filling my banks because I need consumers. You had a society and an economy at one point based on um, minerals and the ability to actually create things for utility. But they got so efficient with creating things for utility, there was no place to sell this stuff anymore. Everybody
Right.
had what they need. So now I need to convince people to get what they don't need. Now I need to create a consumer class. And now we have a bunch of people with erroneous ideas that we're willing to defend to our last breath, but we don't know where they came from. We don't know who's in our ear. So we go out buying things that we don't need, investing in things we don't need, having children when we know we cannot provide for their needs. You know what I mean? And it creates a deficit model of being
Mm-hmm.
where you're not trying to create legacy for the sake of ensuring that your family survives and is balanced. Instead of bringing people into the world and making sure that you can have them level so that their compass works. Everyone's always off balance. So you're not sure which direction you should be pointing in.
Right. No, like you said, with that community is so important. Our jegnas, our elders. For again, the compass is for both man and woman, so that we navigate again, building righteous character, getting the tools that we need to, if we need to be corrected in that character. All of this plays a major role in it, a role in that navigation system. I'm grateful, you know, before I came in, I knew there was coming in, I knew and learning. Oh my gosh. I sit here and I think about it all the time where and grateful that when you learn certain things that you would not have learned out there, because they don't care. The world doesn't care. It wants you to sabotage. It wants you to fall. It wants you to lose your mind. It wants you to commit suicide. It wants you to be what? Everything opposite of who you're meant to be. Being an I knew gives me the ability to, one, be my best, to think about that navigation system. It's in here. Am I staying focused? It helps me to, again, but going back to men and women, you have to desire it. Do you desire to be navigated in a proper, that's another thing. Most people are comfortable going in the wrong direction. Okay. But then you complain while things are messing up, but you're going in the wrong direction. Whereas for us, and I knew there are certain things that if you navigate it right by having our jegna, having our community, having the elders around, having the support group of your brothers and sisters, by having that, it keeps you from navigating to those terrestrial winds. You're going to still have, or waters. You're still going to have the torrents. You're still going to have all that stuff, but you won't perish if you follow this system. If you follow the navigation, if you follow the directions, if you listen to the counsel properly, if you have the community that's here to support you to what? Succeed. This is what we're in our new. To what? Help us to succeed in our proper place. And so this is why it's very vital and it's necessary. And this is why we have the segments. Chief does a podcast. He does the segments. And we have each and every one of us that are called to assist Chief in assisting others, but also assisting others outside of Anu to, like, listen, hey, this is not going to fail. This is heading due north. We're not going to get lost. We're not going to lose our role. We're going to continue to build in our character building. And so this ties into, again, as to in making sure, again, like you were saying about that needle, it's not bent, like Chief was sharing, it's not bent, but it's pointing due north. It's pointing in the right direction. And it's helping us build, again, the character, building the things that we need, the tools that we need to help to make sure we stay on course. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll go through
Chat.
I'll continue going through the comments.
The comments.
Yeah, Imakuya says, I was thinking a woman can submit what she knows, and a man can use that and envision something broader. I've experienced when a man may not know a small part of something, then ask what I know. Oh, there's more. Then use that knowledge, or a woman can share what she has learned and leave it there. Okay, well, the first thing is the vision has to be there. The wisdom can't come before the knowledge.
Right.
So that's the thing. When it comes to manhood, there has to be a vision there. And there has to be a vision to where true north is. Before we saying I have to do something, you have to understand where you're at and where you're going and what's conducive to getting you there and what will stop you from getting there. And the situation is funky now because there's very few men when it comes to that regard. Where you have that vision and you're raised by a right ruling man. Inside of your family. There's a man who's saying, I'm going to teach my son or my child, or even these children around my children. If they come around here and they're off, I can correct them, or I can say, listen, that little boy ain't got no sense because his head is hard. So he probably can't come around here, and I don't want you around him because it'll rub off on you.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen too.
Right.
Because you have to create that protective hedge around. And this is where it was like getting, this is where it gets fuzzy too. Not fuzzy, but this is where it can get kind of confusing to some when it comes to the nature nurture debate, because in his nature, these things that should be natural to him, in terms of the desire to grow and the desire to be strong and the desire to expand, that natural inclination that should be there, there's a perversion that happens to where someone is, not someone, but there's interference with your compass and it starts pointing you into directions that aren't conducive to your growth, but they'll funnel all of your energy into what someone else has going on. And that strips away your ability to even move like a man because you get desensitized to what's diminishing that manhood. And talking about pointing to true north, if you're going towards your manhood, then you're moving against the things that diminish that manhood. And you have to stay from around those things, and that can become a very harsh reality when you sit down and you really realize it, when you remove all of the distractions and the interference, and your guide can get through to you, and they let you know, listen, this is what you've been neglecting this whole time.
Right.
You've been neglecting your manhood, or you've been neglecting your womanhood, and as a result, you've made all of these steps that have driven you further away from that. You're neglecting your relationship with the Most High. You've taken all of these steps further away from that. And then are you going to be humble enough to say, this is true? This is true. How do I get back on that path? Or how do I walk that path? Or where's the road? how far gone am I? If you're not looking at questions like that to help you to assess where you're at, then it can become dangerous for anyone to come under you.
Mm-hmm.
Brianna Sawyer says, why should a woman have to depend on a man if she learned how to survive on her own? No one said a woman had to depend on a man. You could, or you could just decide not to. It's your choice. But in our new, women come under their men. All women should be covered, and all men are moving superior to the women. That's the standard, And based on what I was just speaking about, that standard has been flipped on its head, especially in the West. Now the standard is you got to be obedient, or you got to be subservient. I'm talking about men, and the women have taken on a lot of qualities and traits that men have, So questions like this will pop up. Why should a woman have to depend on a man if she's learned how to survive on her own? So you want to be out there hard and uncovered. That's cool with you. If that's cool with you, then fine. But if it's not cool with you, if you do actually want to be covered and you do actually want a man who's actually stronger than you are and superior to you, then it wouldn't even be a have to. You would want to, because you do need that covering. But again, the needle has been shifted and there's so much interference. A question like this shouldn't even really come up, but it's a sad reality when you look at the dating pool that you have, or the mating pool that you have, and it's a similar thing for men. You're looking at the mating pool that you have, and it's it's saddening. You don't know who to pick because everyone has some sort of damage, because this is a damaging society.
Mm-hmm. And to add to it, making sure that it's understood clearly, like Master Menyelek was saying, we were talking about earlier. It's you don't, again, women, it's not about you following just any man. It's about a righteous man that has a vision. In our new, when we have the covering initiative, all of us in our new, the men in our new, we have the vision. And that vision is to going back to navigation. We learn to be, because it's more about you. When you have that vision, you know where the course you're going. A man without a vision is dangerous, just like a woman. Surviving on her own is dangerous. But when you have a righteous man, I want to start it with this. Look at our Chief Jagna. A lot of us, before we came into space, we had to learn to trust him and to see if he's navigating properly, which for me, I was able to learn. I was able to know that it was something like Master Menyelek was mentioning earlier. It's something I already knew intuitively. Okay, I didn't need a whole lot of, I followed Chief some years before I came in, but it was something about him that separated him from the other males out there. Okay, one is about his character. The number one thing that started with that is character. Chief was not doing like he did when he was sharing about these segments. He's been teaching since the 90s. This is before podcasts. This is before YouTube. But the point is, his life has been geared to what? Righteous community. Because why? There's so many different environments, or different, not just environments, but different other cultures. Let's just say other cultures that tried to do what we're talking about, and they failed. Because why? They deviated from the navigation system. They deviated from, their relationship with the Most High. And so to answer the question, We look at the world right now. Most women are not, they're led by no men. And look where they're heading. Heading totally into damnation and chaotic. I see it every single day. The interesting thing about it, they don't even know. A lot of them don't even know they're heading in a direction, but more importantly, their lives are their emotions is so imbalanced. There's such an imbalance. There's such a disrespect, not only for their level of womanhood, but their level for the disrespect for a man. Okay, and they call that survival. It's not natural to be like now. Survival is being in a single parenthood. They got shows for it. Single parenthood has become natural now. A woman is, because why? The state tells you how, the state becomes your new man. They don't know this. And better yet, who's really controlling? Who's really orchestrating you? Who's really navigating you? It's a corrupt state. It's a corrupt government. It's a corrupt people. So now it gears you into an imbalanced emotional state where y'all, the desperate housewives of crazy Atlanta or Hollywood, and you see that chaos. They cat fights. Really, you damn near 40, 50 years old, 30 years old, and y'all fighting over Lucy because she's talking to Eric. But again, we like that. Chaotic nature of women fighting over stupid stuff. But you know another thing? That culture teaches to hate the man, which is against divine principles. Again, taking you away from what? Steering you away to disaster, because you're navigating towards a level where if you continue to that course, suicide is high now. People actually are navigating to a course. They're actually navigating to death. Right now, it's amazing the stuff that I've seen in the last 2 years. While people accept death, and I know we're talking about live. People are accepting, like Chief said, it's this word called with a C and it ends with a D. They're accepting what? Death. But when you have recovering and you say, we don't do that. We don't navigate. Let them do what the hell they want to do. But we navigate, we follow the Most High. We navigate by, if we do this, we do what we're supposed to do. If we allow our emotions to guide us, because that's what's going on with the crazy females out there. They're letting their emotions guide them. Navigate them to what? Disaster. Their emotions are all over the damn place. Imbalance. But when you're navigated and said, let go of your emotions, like Chief was, like we were just saying earlier. When you're navigating towards a course where you're learning to let go of that chaotic thought, let go of that part of the world. It's not going to work for you. You will see it. But then when you navigate to a course that's on point and it's with purpose, but again, that man is the one guiding you. And so by him guiding you, a righteous man now, I'm making sure it's very understood, because it could be taken out of content by saying this. Righteous men that has what? A vision, and his vision is pointed to the Most High. To, as we share in Anu, our Elohim. If your compass is not focusing on our Elohim and that righteous Elohim that's guiding you to that course, you're going to self-destruct. So when you're under his covering and you're under his leadership, his counsel, his vision, you won't sabotage. You won't self-destruct. Master Menyelek, you wanted to share something.
Yeah. You had said something that was key, because the state becomes your new mind. Like Chief has said, there's always a man or a masculine voice in a woman's ear. Like Isaac was talking about, who's in your ear. There's always a man in a woman's ear. And there's a fantasy that a woman can survive without that, or a woman can even be in a world where she's not looking to knowledge for guidance. You're always looking to knowledge. You know what I mean? And even the phrasing of the question, why should a woman have to depend on a man? No one said anything about having to do anything. You you want to, but there might be something pointing, messing with your compass. There might be some interference there where it's like, you can survive on your own. You can survive on your own. What does that even mean? What does that look like, surviving on your own?
Right.
Where are you going to go? And where are you going to go? And I see some responses in the chat as well to the question. Imakuya says, peace, Brianna, would you be receptive to a man who surpassed you in knowing how to survive and had a broader perspective than you, or would you rebel and lean on what you think it takes to survive? So if that man was in a space who knew how to survive, because you learn how to survive yourself, would you decide to just be on your own? And what does it mean to know how to survive?
Right. What does that mean? Exactly. Yeah.
Shalom, Brianna. Thank you for joining the bill. What does that survival look like? Chief GS says, looks like Brianna dropped the question and then exited. Women never survive on their own. Some learn how to function inside of a man's structure and society better than others, but that is not truly independence. Singlehood is just survival, not living, right? Yeah, it's just survival. Oh, she responds and says, my computer keeps going off. She says you probably need a man to build another computer or repair the one you have. Brianna Sawyer says, I was wondering about that as well as with females functioning inside of a man's structure, Chief Via. Is that similar to a woman wanting to be like the guys? What does that mean? Chief says, as a female, you can choose to create your own structure based on your own vision. If you try to copy what a man has built, then one could say that you are trying to be like the guys. Right. So if you're utilizing the example that you were given by men, then you're trying to be like the guys. But if you're living inside of a man's structure where the whole city was built, the society was built, the laws were made, the maintenance is kept up, all of your plumbing is done, all your electrical work is done, all your computers are built. Like, exactly how are you going to live outside of this structure? And what does that look like in your mind when you say survive on your own? Like, where you surviving? And can you actually imagine having to survive outside of the structure that you currently reside in, which was built by men?
Right.
I think we caught up. Brianna, I think she laughed at Chief's comment. Imakuya says, Brianna, are you able to answer the questions asked by the women? Yeah, Imakuya and Sovereign Eats both asked questions based on what you were saying. And then your computer started messing up. So now you're trying to answer. Okay, she's getting to it. Emma Sequoia says, women need the stability of structure that Iman brings, as women we are always in need of that, whether we are getting it through the benefits offered through the American system or our divine counterpart, that is the original Black man. Okay, so while that's going on in the chat, you got anything else you wanted to add, Abba?
I just want to comment, probably wait until you chime in, but it's interesting that what Chief was mentioning earlier about how, oh no, you mentioned it too, how for some women that want to imitate the men, it's interesting. I'm trying to, I'm going to word this in a way where you'll understand what I'm saying. There's this certain group that's that is interesting how it starts with an L. It's this month, but anyhow, they hate men, or they'll use men as the example for a reason they don't like them. But then when they get into that relationship, they change it and they play that man role as if they can be that man better than the man. And it's like, that's not going to work. I'm using this scenario for a reason, because to throw the AI off and everything. But anyhow, I'm using that because that's something that always intrigues me. I always wondered that. Wait a minute, you hate men so much, but you're going to become one. You dress like them, you become one. As you can replace it, but you can't. Because you don't have a certain part that the man has anyway. Yeah, you can strap it on, but it don't matter. Point is, you're imitating. Going back to how the world does things. It wants to imitate that of the divine. And it doesn't work. It's not the same thing. Okay? That was going back to the question was asked earlier about how sometimes some women, and that's another thing, this becomes this competitive thing, like Chief mentioned about the elder women. Some of the elder women are competing with their granddaughters. Really. You're competing, right. Or better yet, you're trying to, or better yet, for some females, they want to compete with men. Well, there's not enough men. Okay, there's more than enough. The question is, you don't want to be submissive. That's it. You don't want to, you want to blame, or like Chief was mentioning about in the podcast, how to be free of resentment and forgive. You want to blame the man for some whatever trauma or whatever thing you went through, but you want to blame them, but you want to emulate that person that you're blaming and be that person, which you can never be. And you think that you're going to utilize, you think, again, going back to the society today, that's why there's so much confusion going on. Because everyone wants to play a different role than what that role is, with their specific role. And so this is going back to what we were sharing about, and I know what I said is not liked. Okay, whatever. Get over it. Because I know where my navigation system is, and I know where it's heading to. I don't worry about what the world says. But the point is, we have to understand that in order to balance, going back to that compass, there has to be a balance. And that proper balance is the North and the South Pole. The compass represents the masculine. He's pointing north. The woman, she's the opposite. She's pointing south. The point is, the navigation is pointing north. We follow the north. We follow that compass. We follow those directions. Without that balance, it's going to be a problem. Without the community, because that adds to what we're building from, you're going to have a problem. If there's a male in the audience, same as a woman. If you don't have a righteous community that is helping to help navigate you through those torrentious waters, those torrentious elements, whatever it is, and I had a male. There's a male that to this day can't stand. Yeah, but I can measure because you don't have a culture. Who's guiding you? You disrespect everybody. So you think you can be a self-leader on your own? Doesn't work that way. So that's pretty much what I wanted to add to the space.
Okay. I would say, though, to the point of the opposition, I would say that they're complements. I wouldn't say that they're and I'm saying this because right. I'm saying this because even with the negative and positive polarity, they both come together to create something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they come together, they create that spark. And I'm saying that because the trick knowledge of it is that it's designed for us to think of each other as opponents, and to think of each other as always antagonizing one another, always making each other miserable.
Right.
So you have certain groups that are founded upon the idea that the quote unquote opposite sex is going to make you miserable.
Right.
So you should only deal with them on a transactional or business like relationship, but never truly connect with them. Because if you truly connect with them, one of you is going to hurt the other. And that pain or that betrayal is inevitable, and since it's inevitable, I'm I'm either going to get you before you get me, or
Right.
I want nothing to do with you. That's by design because we're weaker when we're apart. We're strongest when we can work with our complements, with our counterpart, and that helps with the mission moving forward towards that goal. Because even though you're heading towards true north and you're on a path, that path may take more than one generation,
Right.
but you're so stuck on being alone, or you're so stuck on not connecting because of
Right.
potential pain, and you're not coming under eldership as well. Because that recent episode that Chief did about the responsibility of elders, if you're not coming under eldership and you're not submitting to authority, and everyone submits to authority, the buck doesn't stop at the man, because you have the woman and the man, but you also have the elder men in the community, and they guide that younger man. Then you have that connection to the Most High, and you have a whole example there of how to move and navigate the world. But if you just stuck on it's just us two individuals putting together case files against each other for the inevitable split or the inevitable divorce, so that you
Right.
can I think Chief was talking about this on first date, where you have these things where you try to slander the person. Now the relationship is over. I had all this stuff in my back pocket that I wanted to say to him, but I was keeping to myself. Now I'm going to quote unquote expose. And once I do that, people will see how rotten this person was.
It's
You
about
said
working
that a
together.
lot too.
Huh?
Working together, right, to
Right.
achieve
Working
something
together.
and produce something, right? But if
Right.
you don't work together, you're not going to produce anything. And I don't need you producing, I need you consuming.
Right. And let's just like
That's the whole thing.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's the whole thing. It's just a slight delay on my end, so my words are coming late.
Right. No, it's just about, like you said, working together. I love working with the woman because, again, it's a compliment. It's about we work as harmony. We're building balance, not working as oppositions to one another, not working as the fight being divided and oh, I'm going to conquer you. No, it's about balance. It's about harmony. It's about, again, to be navigated properly. And yeah, I'm just commenting, just backing up what you were sharing. That's all.
Yeah, man. So Brianna, she placed some answers in the chat,
Okay.
and she says, because I think the main question that she's responding to is, what is survival to you? For me, survival is trying to figure out life as I go, but I have been trying to I've been trying to adapt by watching other people and how they move, but also learning from people and their mistakes. And I usually take what I learn and try to mold it into my own way of thinking outside the box, because I am not trying to move like how other people move. Okay, so you try to learn from people's mistakes. So you sit back and watch people. Um, you try to adapt by watching people and how they move, and learning from people and their mistakes. And you usually take what you learn and try to mold it into your own way of thinking outside the box, because you're not trying to move like how other people move. But you are moving like how other people move, because in none of that do you have anyone else around you teaching you, for one. You don't have a man in that scenario, for two. And most people move like that. That's more common than you would think, for
Mm-hmm.
people to just look around and watch what others do and try to learn from mistakes. Like, for example, if you're in a classroom and the teacher asks a question, um, even if you know the answer, look around at the amount of people who say nothing, waiting for at least one person to answer, so that when they get it wrong and the teacher corrects them, they can now take a part of what their teacher said, mix up what they have in their own mind, and then try to pass off a correct answer. A lot of people do that in life. They just walk around meandering and watching what other people do, as opposed to being in a space where people have already gone through and have made mistakes. And it is wise to learn from others' mistakes. But in a community, people tell you, look, this is what I did wrong, and this is how you should do it. Go do it this way. But if you want to listen to yourself, you can listen to yourself. But then someone's just going to be learning from your mistakes. It's no different. You're adding on to the aggregate of people who are meandering through life without any type of guidance and direction, because they think that their way of thinking is so unique that that's going to be enough. And it's usually not. It's usually not. Sovereign Eat says, thank you for explaining that. So then, if that is survival, then it is not an effective and sensible way to move in the world, nor does it indicate stability, security, or vision. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was why, your original question, Brianna, is why does a woman have to come under a man if she knows how to survive on her own? But what you just described, it wasn't necessarily survival, you know. And like Chief Yuya said, it's definitely not living, because you're not able to fully thrive in what you are. You're not balanced. So your compass isn't going to be pointing towards magnetic north or true north. It's going to be pointing in whatever direction you think you should go next. So your compass is actually following you, as opposed to doing what it's supposed to do as an objective tool. Yeah. You got anything you wanted to add, Herut?
No, we pretty much did a lot, shared a lot of comments on this subject. So, no, we just well, we got Chief.
No, keep going, Abba. I want to hear what you were saying. Keep it going.
I'm sorry, Chief.
No, keep going. What you were sharing, man. I'd love to hear what you were saying.
About what part? I said a whole lot. I can't remember everything.
You're trying to shut us down.
No, I was just saying. No, I can't remember. I was just saying. No, we talked about a lot of things or so, but that's all I was just sharing. That's pretty much. I ain't tired. I'm definitely not tired.
Okay, ain't no way it's tired, huh? Okay. No, it's just you brothers, you spent a good amount of time on this, and I guess it's good because sometimes some questions they they bring certain things to the surface that need to be brought. But I think one of the challenges is that you have to sometimes qualify a question first, before we dig into it. As Brianna had asked, why does a woman need to depend? And the first thing Menyelek said is she doesn't need to. So that right there kills the whole issue. It kills the whole question. She doesn't. No one's saying she needs to. But the thing is, it's like you have to think about also in every aspect, what are we actually talking about? Survive, right? When you look at the word survive, it comes from two words, and one is super, and the other one is vivere. So super means above, and vivere means life. You know, so when you are surviving, you are going beyond life or above life. So, for instance, when you go to a funeral and an obituary is read, they tell you who the surviving relatives are, because these are the people who were still able to be present after this person left, after they died. So, survival is an investment in things that take you beyond a particular event. They take you beyond the moment, whether it's I survived a fire, survived nuclear war, survived a recession. There was some major event happened, and I was able to keep going on beyond that event, right? So for some of us, the big event is life. How do we survive beyond this experience of life? Well, the way you survive or your spirit survives beyond the experience of life is you have to create more life. So the creation of more life itself is a survival plan. So when we get together as man and woman, and as complementary man and woman, as you said, but um, that's not for any woman to just jump up and say, "Well, let's do something together," because you might just be a headache, and you might kill my seed. I have to make sure your soil is fertile and it's healthy soil. That means you're mentally ready, you're spiritually ready, you're physically ready. You see, you're emotionally ready. Just you raising your hand and saying, I can do it, I'll do it, that's not enough. And in the same instance for the man, do you have a vision that goes beyond death? Or are you just looking at that woman and saying she's pretty and I want to dip my pickle in and get wet? Right? So if your vision is not clearly articulated and is not a vision that makes sense and that is balanced and structured and is very clear that this vision is going to outlive me, my vision is going to survive me. If I were to die today, tomorrow you would still say, yeah, but let's read the Anu Way, let's read the 14 Keys, let's read Mind Heart Words. The man's got over 1,500 videos on YouTube. Not to mention, once you speak to my children, they're going to open up my safe and then you're going to see all my notes. And you're going to say, damn, this man has got notes dating back to 1990, 1991. I still have my composition notebooks from lectures I used to teach back then. I had my very first one, double space, written in pencil and print in a composition notebook. You know, coming up to today. I was writing notes before we even had microcomputers in our homes. Then my next set of notes I used to write on a word processor. Then after the word processor, I got Windows 3.1. That was DOS. That was all command line. And I used to write them in DOS and then put them on floppy disks. You see? So now that's something, all of those different notes that I still have on flash drives, on DVDs, on CDs, on floppy disks still, on cassette tapes, and even up in the cloud. And then the man made a bunch of music and put it on Spotify. And if you listen to the music, he's breaking down sciences in the music, right? So all of that will survive my death. Then I have land. I have homes that I've built. I have people that I've taught all around the world. If I die today, they'll say, you know, Chief taught me this. I remember when Chief was here in northern Togo, and he built this here, and he talked about this. You see? So we as men, we have to make sure that we are planting something in the world soil and in the cosmic plantation, that we're planting something that outlives our physical presence. You see, so then when you encounter that fertile woman, when you encounter that woman that you consider to be good, it's very easy for her to see how survival is second nature with you. That's not even something she has to question, because you've already put things out into the cosmos that will outlive you, which is really what survival is. Now, after you have gotten that through your skull, then now we can focus on living. You see, we can go through the enjoyments of living. You see, so I think it's very important as you brothers, dig into these sort of topics and answer these questions. It's good to qualify the question, but it's also good to qualify, who you are and your answering of said question, as well as who is presenting it. What is like what was Brianna's, and I'm glad that the sisters asked, what do you see survival as being? And like she said, it was somewhere, I don't know, I'm looking at the chat. For me, survival is trying to figure out life as I go, but have been trying to adapt by watching other people and how they move, but also learning from people and their mistakes. And I usually take what I learn and try to mold it into my own way of thinking outside the box, because I'm not trying to move like how other people move. See, that's called self-destruction. What she just described. That's not survival. That's fumbling around in the dark and hitting a bunch of walls. That's what that is. And that's not thinking outside the box, because I move learning from other people and their mistakes. So you're going right back into the grid of a matrix. And why do all of that foolishness bumping around in the dark when you have someone like me who's already mastered survival?
Right.
And will say, come on, I'll take you beyond that. Because you bumping around in the dark, you wasting your time when we could be focused on more important things. You see, because why do you keep resetting yourself back down to zero? Well, I got to figure this out again from the beginning. Figure this out in the beginning. So there's no evolution. There's no ascension. There's no betterment. See, and your bloodline should be better. Each offspring should be better than the last. That's survival. So now they have the capability to survive what you couldn't survive. And then their children will be able to survive what they couldn't survive. Because no one's bumping around in the dark. They're going through the safes and pulling out those CDs and DVDs. And man, we got to find something to play this on. I noticed something good in this, man. He had it locked in a safe. It was in his will. I know this is good. You see, a freaking floppy disk. Like what? What is this?
I remember floppy disk.
Yeah. What is this?
Right. What is it? Exactly. It's an ancient key. Opens up the Great Pyramids. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
trying to slide it through doors.
Right. Like a credit card. Let's see if I can tap with it, But those are important things. And it's funny because the other day I was looking, I always share with y'all that my very first 120 lessons were written on a napkin. And I scanned them in when scanners first came out, like home scanners. That had to have been like maybe 94, somewhere around there. And I was so happy to take these lessons I had written in paper and scan them so I could have them forever. And interesting enough, I pulled up that folder the other day. I have about 7 copies of that folder all over because it's so precious to me. And there's a picture of the napkin. I still have the napkin too. It was a paper towel, actually, not even a napkin. But that's an important thing to it. And my first enlightener, his name is on the bottom with his phone number. 2 phone numbers, in fact. Yeah, his pager and his home number.
You and your redundancy.
Right, exactly. I'm like, yo, give me both your numbers, man.
Right.
Right.
So it just goes to show you, man, that is survival. So I was planning my survival back then. I need to be able to outlive the event. Well, what are the events? Man, towers came down. There was a .com crash. There was Bill Clinton and that whole, and then recession, and then all these different things happened, man, wars. And I outlived all of them because I had the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, which were my survival tools. So any woman who got with me was like, man, you know all of this? Yeah, because I planned for you and I planned my survival. So that's the answer, man. All that other stuff y'all talking about, you ain't gonna get into all that, man. It's, So I just wanted to share that, because it seemed like this was a big subject, and I don't think it was so big. Like I see more in the chat. I'm gonna read it for y'all. So Sovereignty says, thank you for explaining that. So that if that is survival, then it is not an effective and sensible way to move in the world, nor does it indicate stability, security, or vision. Yafei says, what are you molding, Sister Brianna, if you merely surviving and not thriving? Sovereignty says, you found the napkins. I never lost the napkins, the paper towels, never lost them, always kept them safe my entire life, or since I received them, because that's how precious someone sharing, someone reflecting wisdom into you. That's how precious and wonderful it was for me to someone to take me, especially back then, because you couldn't get, now you can go online and get lessons. You couldn't get lessons back then. One of the gods say, all right, I'm going to take him under my wing and he's going to be my seed, my knowledge seed. That was a big thing, because most of the time when you brought your knowledge seed around, at the time, I'm a church musician. And I remember almost having to get into hand-to-hand combat, going down to Mecca school and cats saying, yo, he a Christian. He be in the church with the Christian. And I remember situations like that, and brothers was ready to fight, and my enlightening, like, nah, leave him alone. Leave him alone. We learning. He learning, God. He a young God. You know what I mean? So yeah, I kept every single little thing. One of my enlighteners, he got locked up, did some time, and we were studying the thoughts, philosophies, and opinions of Marcus Garvey, that book. And he left that with a bunch of other notes on nuclear fission, all written out. And I took them and wrapped them up, brought them home. And to this day, I still have them. That book is on my shelf. You going back to like freaking 1989? I still got the same Marcus Garvey book that and he came home, Riff, he was like, yo, God, where's my book? I think I left my, so he's in jail thinking about his book. He did 3 years. He came home, yo, God, where's my book? I got it, man. I took it home. Yo, you should have tried to get it to me. All right, I feel you, but I got it though. Then he got locked up again. I took it back again. I was like, this is mine now. Right. So the point I'm saying, that's how you should respect. like, if you can, clearly I'm the only one applying it. I'm the one staying free. So clearly this.
I'm keeping it safe.
Right, exactly. I man, that book can travel the 3-4 different apartments, 2 houses with me. That's mine now. But the point I'm saying is that that's how you should regard knowledge when it comes to you. It's so precious. It's a precious gem. You see, so if you regard it as such and you cherish it as such, it grows. I go back to that napkin, I see something different. I remember something different. He gave me, the first thing he gave me was the 12 jewels of Islam. That was the very, very first thing. He was like, memorize the 12 jewels of Islam. We go from there. I memorized the 12 jewels of Islam. Then he gave me my mathematics. Right? Mathematics, that was actually written on paper. Then he gave me my alphabet, written on paper. But written on paper, me writing it, he just running it off.
Right.
While he doing push-ups. We in the park. He's doing push-ups, pull-ups. And we doing sets in between. While he's on his sets, I'm running back to the notepad. And it's dark. We out there too. We used to always go work out like at 2 a.m. Middle of the park, pitch black. And I'm writing notes. This is how I got my lessons. This is how Chief y'all started. You see, it was no YouTube, was no digital notes, none of that. Then he gave me my enrollment lessons, my student enrollment. I had to memorize all these. You don't memorize them, you don't get no more lessons. You see? And if I take you down to Allah's school, we go down to Mecca, we go to Harlem, they're going to say, yo, what's today's mathematics? Yo, boom, what's this? Boom, what's question 44? Boom. You don't know it, it's time to fight. Literally. It's time to fight. Nah, stop talking, God. Stop talking. Now it's time to fight. You see? So this information is so cherished that you have to think twice when someone, affronts your shield and asks a question. You really think, okay, do you need this? Is this, what gem do I give you? Because I have to negate from myself and shave off my gem to give you a little bit of this. Which one do I give, or do I give any? Do I start a student enrollment right here and now? You see, Sovereign Eats also says this is really cool. OMG, talk about primary resources. LOL. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thinking about are you willing to fight for your lessons? Because
Yes.
if you ain't willing to fight, then that's it. You ain't no student no more. You ain't got no honor.
Right. And I keep it 100. I did fight for the lessons. I did. One of my enlighteners was someone I fought. He was someone I fought.
Wow.
Yep. He was someone I fought. He was on the same thing. He was like, yo, you whoop-de-woo, you be going to church. I was like, yo, but I never joined the church. I go to make money. Like, nah, you he was calling me an agent. Dude pulled out a long screwdriver.
Wow.
Right. It was that serious back then. And we scrapped. I had nothing. I didn't have a banger. I have nothing. He had a screwdriver in his hand. And I was fortunate. The Christian God was with me that night. I was fortunate, and then we became cool later after that. And he gave me my plus lessons. He apologized. Was like, yo, back in the days I was, just, and it wasn't even back in. It was literally the summer before. I was like, whatever. He was like, I ain't really know you like that, and I, pardon self, boom. And he was like, I can't really do anything to fix that situation, but he said, what I can do is give you something that you could have forever. I had no idea what he was talking about. No idea. He gave me my plus lessons. See, y'all don't even know. See, Sami says, what are plus lessons, right? You don't even know about those. Those are some you don't just give out. They're beyond the mathematics that you receive. So you have your actual facts, your solar facts. You have your plus lessons. These are things y'all probably never heard of. These are things. So he's like, I'm gonna give you something that you'll always have. See, and
that's
didn't. Yeah. See, this is how it comes, man. So you think about when people throwing stuff out there, whatever. Man, listen, I wish I would have went to the guys and be like, yo, but what about what? Who the F you talking to? Will we learn plus lessons? Who knows? Will you? Have you mastered the lessons that have already been put in front of you? Can you live and die by the sword that I've already handed to you? Is that sword sharpened? Or if I ask questions, will you start giggling and looking around like it's something cute? I received my plus lessons because I earned my plus lessons, not because I asked for them. I didn't even know they existed. I got my 120 and that was it. And then there was so many other things to learn. I had another enlightener put me on to Albert Einstein back in the days. Then another one put me on to Nikolai Tesla. We talking like 1997. This is right before I went to Nigeria. I'm moving with this level of mathematics. Then I'm going to get initiated into the Ogun priesthood. Hot behind Nigeria, 1997. We didn't really have cell phone. All we had was a StarTAC out. They didn't have no phones over there. You see, so all that easiness y'all had, we had that. Didn't have that.
You can't Google everything.
Right, there was nothing to Google. I had no kind of hookup. I arrived in Lagos. I bought a machete and was just going through the streets of Lagos trying to find someone to teach me Ifa. I was given one name that I couldn't even pronounce. That's how I started, and I was guided. And everyone was like, "You crazy? You can't walk through Lagos by yourself." I was like, "Listen, I don't walk through Kingston, Jamaican by myself. I don't walk through Harlem by myself. I don't walk through Los Angeles by myself. I know how to move by myself. I'm all right. And plus, I'm bigger than everybody here anyway." You know what I'm saying? I ain't worried about y'all. But right. I knew what I needed, man. I came there for this. This is, you gonna teach me this. And then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna liberate my people. See, that's how serious these lessons are. But if it's just something that's just interesting for you, you'll never get it. It's not for you.
But that goes back to Chief, as you were sharing. You see why he's the chief Jegna? I can't speak on. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny what you're saying, Chief, about the supreme mathematics. I didn't know what those supreme mathematics were before I came in. I knew. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. I knew about some of
the first time I saw it.
Huh?
I'm sorry, that's the delay again. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
I didn't know, but this is why we have an elder. I remember you were saying, Chief, yeah, most of your elders are older than you, but you're older than them. I remember you saying that, but I know what you meant. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're old. Yeah, because again, the most high for you, and you probably started when you were 3 years old, Chief. So we probably, 3 years old. Hell, I wasn't even.
I'll tell you exactly when I started. I really started when I was 4. I started writing poetry when I was 4. First poem I wrote was about rain falling on the windowsill. I was at 4.
Wow.
Then shortly after that, I fell in love with Dan and yogurt. And Dan and yogurt back in the days, now it comes in plastic containers. It came in paper wax containers back in the days, a long time ago. And the tops was the color of the top was the flavor of the yogurt you bought. So I used to collect. That was my thing, to collect the yogurt tops.
So okay, small tops, right?
Yeah, the tops on top. So if you got blueberry flavor, it'd be blue on top, or whatever. So I would collect these tops, and I started meditating. I remember as a child having all these tops on the floor. My siblings laughing, like, you stupid. You collect. Everybody else playing with toy. You playing with yogurt tops. And I started thinking, like, if you put all these different colors together, can you create your own universe just made out of colors? Wow. That was the start. You see? So all of those things, why do you remember? Because because knowledge is so very precious. You see? So when those transcendental moments come to you, you hold them. You hold them. They're so beautiful, And like I said, when you're learning under people who cherish and take what they have seriously, you take it seriously. So when the gods would roll up and say, yo, what's the diameter of the planet Earth, God? I could say immediately 7,926 miles. How much area does the Pacific Ocean cover? 68,634,000 miles. You see, how much space of lakes and rivers cover on the planet Earth? 1 million square miles. You see, what's the distance between the Earth to the sun? 93 million miles. You see, what's the rate that the Earth travels? 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. What's the rate that light travels? 186,000 miles per second. How fast does sound travel? 1,120 feet per second. You see, I could keep going, right? Because this was precious. The total area of land and water on the planet Earth is 196,940,000 miles. And you could teach that to somebody and be like, what they got to do with them? I'm trying to figure out how to levitate, man. I'm trying to figure out how to divine. I want to be the divinator. Like, they think they Terminators. They freaking not Terminator, Transformers. Divinator. Divinate. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, man, you a Transformer?
He got a big D on his chest.
Right, I am the divinator. Let me divine for you. You feel me? So it's like, man, I have teachers teaching me these things, and I'm like, why do I need to know that the area that deserts cover on the planet Earth are 4,861,000 square miles. Mount Everest is 29,141 feet high. Why do I need to know that? I'm not asking. I'm just, all right, I got to know this. I got to know this. I got to know this. And then when you start integrating it and you start applying it, then it starts to come to life. Because then when someone says, yo, the original woman is the earth and you're the sun. And your job is to not only resurrect her, but free her and master her through your mental ability. Oh, that makes sense. So how could I master something that I don't know through and through? You see? So if I know that the earth weight, when they say, "Your God, how much does the earth weigh?" 6 sextillion tons. Okay, cool. So now that I know that 6 sextillion tons, that's the weight of the earth. Now, when I understand that 6 is her highest number she could achieve, she can only achieve equality because the earth weighs 6 sextillion tons. You see? So I start to understand those things. You may not understand them in the moment. Or what's the diameter of the sun? 853,000 miles. Right? Now I'm giving you stuff I learned freaking 1991, 92. These are things I had to memorize. How do I still know them until this day? You see? Because that's the preciousness of someone sharing themselves and pausing and saying, all right, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you this information. I'm going to give you this knowledge. And that's the duty of an original man. You better remember it.
Right.
How are you going to cover that woman and you don't even know her full capacity? You don't know. Hey, what's the area of producing land on the planet Earth? 29 million miles. See? So I know that she has the ability to produce the production. We ain't talking about the deserts. We're talking about the land that could produce 29 million miles. So I know how to speak to her in a way so that she can produce and bring forth her equality. Because if she's unable to bring forth and complete my home, she completes my home through children. But through children, she brings forth the understanding that I have implanted inside of her. You see? So how could she really truly do that if I don't even know her production capacity? Then I'm going to have her either running at half speed or I'm going to be treating her like a dude and giving her way more than she's supposed to have. You see? So I have to not only understand her circumference, her measurements, but I have to understand how she moves, how she feels, how she expresses things. When I understand that the square mileage of the planet Earth is 196,940,000 square miles, I understand the capacity, how far she is. But I also know that the original man only uses 23 million square miles. The colored man uses 6 million square miles. You see? Now I get to understand something. I get to start to understand her. So when I say, oh, you need a man to cover you, I have already trained in my survival. She like, well, how you know you can come, baby? I've been studying you since I had a flat top. Since I had a kid and play flat top with a freaking big Mercedes-Benz medallion around my neck and one gold tooth on the left. That's how long I've been studying you. When I was walking around being called the God unique. You see, y'all never even heard me use that attribute. That's how far back that goes back before all the other names I got. The God unique. You see what I'm saying? Then it became Big U. From all that freaking getting those lessons in the middle of the night, working out in the park all freaking day, I turned into a doggone Wolverine looking like Beast from X-Men. But if that's what I got to do to get these lessons, that's what I'm gonna do. Sit out here in this park 2 a.m. doing push-ups all freaking night. Listen, you know what I mean? Listening to Rakim.
That's your tuition.
Right. Exactly. That's the payment. Yo, God, so when can we meet up again? Yo, God, I'll be over at the park tonight. All right, with the 7, 8. Nah. Yo, come up, meet me out there like 2 a.m. I gotta open up the barbershop in the morning. I gotta go to school. Okay, well, this is what I gotta do. This is what I'm gonna do.
All right. Open up the barbershop and go to school.
That's what I used to do. Sometimes I'd go straight from the park. Sometimes we'd be building all night that we would go to the barbershop. He'd be like, yo, open up the shop, yo. We go to the barbershop and just be building and building and building and building. You see? So so sometimes we'd be going from 2 to like my barbers are usually coming around 10 a.m. You see, so that's the thing, man. You know, there's got to be that excitement, man. So when you really study that woman, you really study the earth, and you know it from every angle. In that sense, you know all the water that's on it. The water is 139,685 square miles. When you know those sort of things, okay, I know how much emotion you got. Your land is only 57,255 square miles. So I know, okay, this is your stable part, right? So I know where to plant at. Don't plant in the water. Ain't no point doing that. I'm gonna grow a goddamn sea beast. I don't want that. You know. So I know exactly. I'm not gonna plant in your emotions. We can't do anything when you're emotional. I got to plant in your solidness, but not all your solidness is producible. Some of it's desert. I got to know your barren parts from knowing your fertile parts. You see. Now, you brothers got to be able to do that. So then when a woman comes and says, well, why should I have to depend on a man? You can laugh. You know, sweetheart, you don't have to. You don't have to. You can keep serving the colored man. You can serve the colored man for the rest of your life, but he doesn't have a clue what you are, who you are, or the extent of your capacity, and neither do you. But I do. And I can free you by mastering you with my thoughts and show you how you can reach that 6th degree of equality. You see. Or you could keep bumping around in the dark. You know, have it your way.
Wow.
I'll mute out. I won't take over.
No, you helped us a whole lot.
Yeah.
That's a damn navigation system. Man.
Yeah, well, I definitely give thanks if you and even with that, just showing how to move without allowing those distractions or that interference to come into play. Because it's like no matter what, I'm getting these lessons, and no matter what, I'm gonna stick to the path because I was showing how to walk the path, not just the directions. You know, I'm not gonna say we'll Google this person, you know, and they'll tell you everything you need to know. But because if you do that, then there's that disconnect of, well, this person said to go over here, and this person over here just gave me a bunch of information. Now all I got is a bunch of information, but I have no guidance on how to apply it, or even the understanding that I should sit with it, you know, and actually be thorough with my exploration of the information, and a lot of that coming through applying it and say, okay, when I did it this way, this happened. I do it this way, that happened. And of course, you come with that 120. You do the knowledge before you do the wisdom, you know, and then you come to understanding. So if you go and you just get a bunch of information, being an information whore, you know, which I was corrected on very early on, and I knew just going over and getting a bunch of information from all kinds of different places, it doesn't add up to anything. It doesn't amount to anything because you're just collecting it. You know, you're not applying it. And once you stick to that source of light, you know, which is why you have jagnas, which is why you have men or elder men in the community, you have that light shining. You don't have to worry about bumping around in the dark. You know, so that navigation system is so key, and having elders who can guide you is so key. But one of the things that you said, Chief, that really stands out too is you have to cherish what you're getting. You know, right. Otherwise you're not going to use it. You know, and earning your lessons too is another key, because like I said earlier, we got Google. You know, you don't know something, you just go to Google, type it in. Google gives you the answer. You use the answer, and you don't even keep it inside of you. You could go on, because Google will always be there, right? Google will always be there for me, holding all the world's information. I'll never have to store nothing anywhere else. You know, but that's how we treat Google like it's God, and we stop. I'm sorry, you saying something?
No, I was just commenting what you were saying about this. Like she was saying, I got some of my notes and everything. You ain't gonna find it on Google. Yeah, you may. Yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
Google can't activate man.
You know what? Yeah. There's actually a sister. I was talking to a friend of mine, and his sister was around, and he was explaining to his sister. This was like on the phone, but he was explaining to his sister before we got on the phone. I think he was mentioning me to, and he was saying that he doesn't move like everyone else moves, and she was there, and it was on speakerphone. I think they were driving or something like that. And she had asked me about Anu because she's like, "What are you, Muslim, or like what do you do?" And I started explaining Anu to her, and she was like, she cut me off, and she's like, "I'll just Google it." It's like you can't Google this. I was like, "Go on, I'll wait." I started talking to him again. It's like, so anyway, and we started talking again, and then she's like, "Well, I can't find. Yeah, you can't find it. I told you can't find it." Because you're not going to just Google everything. Everything isn't Googleable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Some things you have to get from your elders. Some things you have to get from your brothers and sisters. Not everything is in the cloud. And
Right.
that's where that's another aspect of that navigation too, where you can tell where you get off the path because you have an organic interchange with people. Like I gotta meet you at the park. I can't just Google the lessons. You can just write them. I can't just print them out. It's like, nah, you got to come see me. 1992.
And write it down.
You can't
and write it
Google
down
everything.
while he's doing their exercises. I mean, that's the lessons right there.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So with the navigation system, there's so much more to it. Like we can't get into it, the whole thing. Pick up a copy of the Compass by Chief Yuya, the Kindle version. I don't know the price now, but it cost me like $3. If that. But don't let the price tag fool you because it's a service that Chief is doing. He's gotten all of these lessons, and when you realize there's so many gems out there, the wise are going to pick it up. The wise will know this is something that is smarter than me. And it comes with morality, it comes with integrity, it comes with consistency, and it's given back. So yeah, man, I definitely recommend the Compass and all other Anu works. A copy of the Anu Way. And I'm gonna play the clip advertising the retreat because I played it when we were on the wrong channel. So I'm gonna play it again. I came in on time too. It's like, okay, but
right.
Yeah, is there anything your brothers wanted to add before
I can't add nothing after what you. I'm not gonna break down what the Earth's circumference is, right?
Okay, well, interested. Well, I'm not gonna add anything.
But it goes back to like you're saying,
cool,
Master Menyelek, when you have elders and you have counsel, when you have all of this, and then Chief ain't done. He got more. Master that, and he got more, and he got some more. Chief, our Chief Judge got stuff. He probably got stuff on another planet. It's like, okay, when you got it on this planet, okay, well, let's go to the moon. We can't get there. We're not going to use Tesla. See, I'm going to leave it at that.
We're going to the moon. All right. So with that, I'm going to play the short clip, and we're going to go ahead and close out. So that is that's our upcoming summer retreat, August 24th. And we're going to be in New Orleans, right? So if you are interested in signing up, just come. Like, what's the slogan? Our Herut? Just come, damn it.
Guess
Just
what?
come
Chief's
through.
going to expound
You
on
know,
what he just said, and just come. Like he said, 2:00 in the morning, doing push-ups. Come.
yeah, man. And realize that this is one of those precious experiences. These retreats are they're very different than the exchanges that we have online, because you just have a screen. Like, you have this, you're looking through a portal as opposed to experiencing each other face to face. There's music, there's building, there's activities, there's community and camaraderie. you know um yeah, it's the whole nine. So come experience the full annual experience. Everyone is welcome to register and come through. The registration for the retreat is on annewlifeglobalministries.org. All of the information will be in the description below. And also join us tomorrow, not tomorrow. We're going to be meeting tomorrow for our internal movie night. And then first day, Sunday, we're going to be meeting up for our midday affirmative. Tuesday is usually when the Chief podcast comes out. And we have Thursday with Aki El Karar coming through with Code Science. And then next Yom Shishi, next Friday, we have the sisters Safta Ahava and Sister Maria coming through with the fellowship bill. All right. So with that, we are signing out. Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy your evening. Willfully, what we built on tonight was educational.
Give thanks for Chief. Oh, that navigation system, man, it came good with this fast. It's like, dang, I'm full. I'm like, wow. But give thanks, Chief, and to our LGM for him to be in this space. Because again, going back to what Chief is saying, I don't take this for granted. I'm grateful. I am totally grateful, and like you said, this is precious moment right now. So.
Yeah, man, definitely give thanks to you, and peace to everyone.